can't stop laughing because Gord said happy birthday. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Horror with Nadia for another tier stream. This time we are doing my top 26 horror movies because it is my birthday month. It's not my actual birthday. That's next week, but figure celebrate early with a fantastic panel as always. But before I bring everybody in, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the stream, let everybody come in here and roast me for my movie choices. So on that note, let's bring everybody in. Choo, choo, choo. Why did I go choo, choo, choo? Sorry about that. I was like,
Jewish space laser sound.
You got the wrong hat on for saying that word.
Oh yeah, my little birthday queen. I am drinking Nadia wine. So I figured, and I'm sure after one glass, I'll be like Leon on a late Saturday night.
Do you want to give me some control of the stream just in case, or?
No, I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
Okay. Do we need to put a cannibalism warning in the chat because you are drinking yourself?
Fairly enough out of my Slytherin glass too.
We drink the blood of
Nadia, put
Christ
the can
every
in
Sunday.
cannibal.
Actually, after that one sip, I can feel it in my head already. So maybe I do need to give you. No. We fucking do it live.
I'm gonna let all the hot takes go
Life on
now.
the danger zone.
Huh?
I'm gonna have so many hot takes now for you, and you're gonna have to come at me drunk.
Oh man. Well, before I get into all that and before we share the tier list, I did see a couple super chats and stuff come through. Leon for 5 Nadia Nads memberships, Balls memberships. Thank you, Leon. You did not have to do that, my friend.
Uneven Nads, yeah.
Yeah, uneven.
No. I did have to do that. I was contractually obligated to do that.
By who? Not me.
No, I'm just fucking with you. No, I didn't need to. But I want to. I want to support you.
I don't know if you will after this.
I demand a refund.
White Kata.
Cage and Corey for $5. Happy birthday, Nadia. Thank you, Cage and Corey. You're awesome, man. As always, it's always great to see you.
This is the skin of a killer, Bill.
Niet for 10 Australian dollars, which is not real money, right? Or is it upside down money? Do they actually have
it's
money
more
for
real
that?
than Canadian.
That's true.
They use kangaroo bees. That's what they use.
Kangaroo bees. For you, sir,
It's finger licking good.
see, I caught you before you went with that.
Koala bills, y'all.
Jake
Nice.
for 20, another successful orbit. Thank you, Jake, very much. Very much appreciative. You know what? Fuck it.
hables, maldito! De lo contrario te arrojaré al fuego!
¡A la verga, me voy a la verga, perro! ¡Híjale a la verga, hija de su
Is that a
That
real
clip just
dub?
makes that clip just makes me think Spanish isn't a real language. It's just you can mumble whatever.
Spanish is the Canadian money of languages.
Yeah, that's like a new thing that I realized like people were doing on Leon's channel is playing video games in like Japanese or German and just like experiencing like the the games and the movies in like these bad dubs. I'm like, I'm gonna start doing that.
Heck yeah.
Who wants to sing for me? Correct.
Nope.
Fuck Disney. Wait.
For fuck's sakes,
Disney
cancel
us.
you.
Okay, that's it. All right, and then Gord, this isn't for your birthday. It's because I'm present.
Oh.
I'll be right back.
Very nice, very nice. And then there's a bunch of other people in the chat. Thank you, everybody. I see you all coming in to wish me happy birthday. Rachel was in here earlier. Her boyfriend's birthday is today. Happy birthday to her boyfriend.
Happy boyfriend.
Hey,
Anthony Mark, happy birthday. Jacob, thank you guys. Another Anthony, so many Anthonys. Enzo with the cake. I don't have cake.
Not it.
Yeah.
Into the mic.
Either
Either
shit. Either cake or steak. Those are both
Cake.
appropriate.
Cake steak?
Steak
Wait, what
cake.
cake?
I said cake
Happy
or
birthday.
steak. but that's fine.
I'm just going through these. Oh, Variety Reel. I should be streaming to Rumble right now.
You
thanks
are.
to you.
That is a Rumble comment. Yep.
Yeah. No,
Whoa.
is that it? No, that's YouTube still.
Oh, he left another comment that he's on Rumble.
Oh, I see it. Oh, awesome.
Ah.
Sam, happy birthday. You guys are like, you're making me feel so loved. I'm gonna start crying, Mrs. Sparkle.
Today's
Oh.
the birthday.
All right, everybody
Uh,
start telling Nadia what a
next
piece
Thursday.
of shit she is. We
Okay.
can't let her feel loved.
Please do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So are you
Get this
Pisces or
love
Aries?
out of the air. It's gross.
March is the happening month for the Cabal birthdays. Yeah.
Is it,
Sassy,
so
next week.
this isn't the actual day? You're not an Ides of March birthday girl?
No, it's next Thursday. I'm the first day of spring.
So are you a Pisces or an Aries?
I'm a cusp.
What is it? Okay. I'm not,
A cusp is
That's
like
the
somebody's.
gayest thing I've ever heard you say.
I know,
in
okay,
this.
Is it like a mix of both, like a mulatto or something?
It's like when you're right on. It's called like when you're right on the cusp of
On the
one
day.
sign ending
What
in one.
what time were you born, Nadia, on the day? That will help be the breaker.
9:30 in the morning.
Okay.
awesome. But did your mom's water break the previous day? Were you in labor for like?
She was in labor with me for 72 hours.
Okay.
Jesus
Hi.
Christ.
Gosh.
That's longer than me. Yeah. Wow.
I mean,
My-
it's that fucking Middle Eastern
So-
healthcare.
Were you also a cesarean baby? You have a perfectly shaped head as well.
Yeah, she had to be a cesarean,
Nice.
C-section with me.
Yeah, me too.
Uh,
me and Nadia could both pull off shaved heads.
My mom went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
See, I'm weird. I was a
Four.
C-section baby, and I've got like this Easter Island thing going where like the back of my head's really flat.
Gord, you're a seed section baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mom had 4 pregnancies, one of them being twins. Actually 5, but she lost one. But one of them being twins, and she always said I was the worst. I would be picking the entire time. My sisters were very just no big deal. All the time. So she was happy to pop me out and get me out.
I've
of
never
there,
had a
so-
bad pregnancy.
Well,
What?
So I never had one. I'm just making a factual
Hey,
statement.
babe, where's the lie?
Well, look at this warrior, Miss Sparkle. I have had 3 C-sections. Damn, girl.
I think once you have one, you gotta have
It
all
used
the
to-
other kids.
No,
yeah.
no.
No?
So it used to be like that. Nowadays, you can go from C-section to natural. Why are we talking about this?
Is that a Star Trek character, 3CPO?
I think if you have like 10 C-sections, you can just form the Olympic rings.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, what's cool about C-sections is you could just be like, I want my baby at 2:00 p.m. this day. I'll show up, and then you leave with the baby, like no problem. Like, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's nice and
I was
efficient.
an E.
I mean, this
What is
conversation
it?
is more terrifying than any of the movies we're about to talk about. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said before, I used to watch a trauma, Life in the ER, and those are way worse than any horror movies. You know, those medical documentaries.
Okay. All right. So let me explain the tier to our guests. And by guests, people watching. So there are only 3 tiers. Only 3 tiers.
I like this.
Actually good. Nadia watches movies. And what the actual fuck, Nadia.
Yeah.
So each movie we're only doing 26 of my favorite movies. One of these movies is actually not on this list because we already tiered it, which is John Carpenter's Vampires.
I
So
watched
figured
it for this stream though.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. It's
Because
not on the list.
We were tiering it for other vampire movies, but it might get a different rating compared to.
Right.
You know.
I'm sorry. It didn't make the list. It's top 26. I don't know what to tell you.
Fucking
But that being said, so our first movie, which hold on, I'm doing this fucking backwards as always. Where's my pee break? Here we go.
Anyone messes with me and the whole camp goes. Come on, child, burn me.
And so The Thing, released June 25th, 1982. Research team in Antarctica. Wow, this wine's already hitting me. Is infiltrated by a shape-shifting alien that assimilates and
Imitates.
Thank you. Other life forms. Leading to paranoia and
also
anyway,
intimidates them, to be fair. You would have been correct.
Director John Carpenter, special effects artist Rob Bottin. 2 facts: Rob Bottin was only 22 at the time. He worked so intensely that he was actually hospitalized for exhaustion after production, and the film's bleak ending was a major departure from the 1951 version, contribute to the internal poor box office, but later cult status. This is actually my all like, if somebody were to say, what is your favorite movie of all time? This is it. This is the movie.
It's a great choice.
This is the movie that I had a special effects career for. This is it.
Have you seen the original out of curiosity?
Long time ago. I still like this one better.
Give it no. This is one of the greatest films of all time. At least one of the greatest horror films of all time. However, rewatch the original. It's very, very good. They are two so uniquely different movies that like love both for different reasons.
Wow. The special effects in this, to me, honestly holds up still to this day because they are so well done and practical. So, on that note, why didn't that remove that? Add to that. There we go. Where are we putting this, ladies and gentlemen?
The answer is obvious. You should have saved this for like last.
Yeah, I was like, we're peaking way too early. This, I mean, it is the greatest horror. It's I would say like it's between two movies for greatest horror movie of all time, and this is one of them. And I lean this one now. I didn't lean this one 2 years ago. I do now. I think it's one of. It's not only like just on a practical effects level, not just in terms of like its suspense. It's one of the most near perfect scripts movie wise. Period.
Yeah.
Unless you're Norwegian.
Unless you're Norwegian. Like unless you're one of those crazy Swedes.
Well, you know the story behind that, right?
No, what's the story?
In the beginning of the film, when the dudes are speaking in whatever hoingy boingy language they're speaking, they give away the entire plot of the movie, and so when it released there, everybody knew the twist and everything that was going to happen because that's in the first 5 fucking minutes of the movie.
See, I would hope what you would hope is that when they release this in Norway, they would dub over their voices in English. Yeah. That would be the best fit.
So I'm thinking this is, since it's top tier, I figured I'd put this as the first one because just to warm us up. I'm thinking actually good.
Yeah, I mean,
a movie about Antarctica to warm us up. Are you retarded?
Although I do have a confession. The first time I watched the thing, I was just in the wrong mood and I didn't care for it. I was just like, I didn't hate it or anything. I just watched it. I was like, okay. And I think I watched it again maybe 2 years later and I was like, what is wrong with me? This is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. Why didn't I enjoy it the first time? Well, it has always baffled me, that first watch.
It's another testament that some of the best movies ever fail the Bechdel test like terribly, like, you know. So this is one of those great movies where there's like no women to cloud up the men's judgment, and there's also like you said, like not just one of the best horror movies of all time, one of the best movies of all time. And you know, that's how I met Lance, talking about the thing on his channel. And yeah, it's just so it's so visceral and awesome and creepy and all about paranoia and just not trusting each other, and it's just great. It actually
pisses me off that Halloween is lauded similarly to this amongst John Carpenter's movies. They're not close. They're not close. They're not even close. I know Halloween had a similarly huge impact, but just judging them as films, they're not even in the same ballpark. Yeah, they're not close.
The first time I saw the thing, I was like in middle school and it was on Sci-Fi Channel, and I saw the part where the dog's head pops open, and I was like, all right, turning it off. I'm gonna go rent this right now. You know, because I know it's edited on TV, you know. So I was like, let's go to Hollywood.
I love husky dogs, so seeing a husky's face split 4 ways, it's just like, oh my gosh. I mean, granted, you know that's not an actual, like, story-wise, it's not a dog, but then worse than that, not now being a little bit more grown up and getting all the context, the one like the dog's trying to bite their way through and still getting killed. I'm like, it's just heart-wrenching. I'm like, no,
the dog that gets shot with a shotgun's the worst for me. I'm like, oh.
This movie influenced a lot of people I know in my generation to do special effects movie. This is the movie that a lot of people were like,
my generation.
This is the reason why.
29.
I wish 29 my ass. Okay.
I can't wait to get into show business and develop ulcers from overworking myself to death like Rob Bottin did.
If you have some permanent ailment because you worked on the thing, it's worth it. It's 100% worth it.
You could say that you walked away with something.
Oh.
You want to know though? What's my number 2 movie of all time?
Is it not on this list?
No, it's not a horror movie.
Old Yeller.
No,
Nope.
it's.
I was hoping. I like it when dogs die.
Snow Dogs.
No.
Is there a dog in it because of Winn-Dixie?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I feel like you're all getting hung up on the dog thing.
Oh,
I know.
I
I'm
know.
saying.
Okay, it's let's see. Mary Poppins.
No. What
And a
the
little
fuck?
Lynn.
Well, like, okay, it's like, is it something in any way related to this list that's not horror?
No.
No. So it is. I'll tell you. It's Gone with the Wind.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
See, I was thinking old timey, but I was thinking more like
Yeah.
Mary Poppins along those lines, like something like that.
I was that was called
Shitty,
Gone with the
shitty, bang,
Wind.
bang, or something.
Ides of March, a great B day for a horror fest. My birthday's actually next Thursday, but this is the only time I can get everybody together. So, on that note, thank you so much for the $2, Admiral. For that, let's see. You know what? I was playing this a lot yesterday, and I'm sorry.
Afternoon, ladies.
Afternoon, Billy.
Dig the new suit, Mrs. Wheeler.
Thank you.
Oh, anytime Toxic would open his mouth about women and men's relationship, and I adore Toxic, I just play that clip the entire time last night. On
What
it.
what is that clip from? I've never seen
Stranger
that.
Things.
I'm guessing.
Oh, I don't
Stranger
watch.
Things
I haven't watched
season
Stranger
3.
Things. That's why. Okay.
That's
You're
why.
based, Gord. You're based. Stranger Things sucks.
Stranger
I
Things
haven't
is great.
I saw the
I
first.
watched like an episode or two, and I was just like, okay, I'm sure it appeals to someone, but I didn't
Yeah,
care.
me. All right, moving on to our next movie.
See this? This is my boomstick.
And Nadia,
Army of Darkness.
lucky.
What is that? I can't.
This is
see.
the deck
Oh,
box.
it's
This is the
nice.
deck box I keep my magic
him
deck
big.
in.
Make him big.
Yeah.
Oh, make him. Whoa.
Engorge him.
This is the deck box I keep my favorite deck in. This is my boomstick. As you can see, it's seen a lot of wear, but
Dang.
yeah,
I
this is
thought it
my
was
favorite. This is
printed
my
like
favorite
that.
movie of all time. Just like the Thing is your favorite movie. This is my favorite movie of all time. So if you do not put it in the proper tier, I will be very upset. Spaghetti.
To me, all these movies are actually
Yeah.
good. There's none
Yes,
of these movies on this list that are not actually good. So
Yeah,
like,
we got to be more objective because like I love this movie. Also, it's my favorite of all the Army Dead movies, Evil Dead movies. But yeah, I gotta put it in the B because it's like technically schlocky, and it's just got this like.
I will never super chat you again if you listen to Enzo right now.
I mean, it's a hoot and a holler and it's a blast. But I mean, when I'm putting stuff in the A tier tonight, it's because these are like actually like amazing, like award-worthy films. And yeah, I'm not saying Army of Darkness.
The dialogue alone is worth an award. I'm not even joking. This is one of the most brilliantly written movies from a dialogue perspective for all of the wrong reasons.
Hail to the king, baby. All the shit he says is so amazing.
what's your question? I see your hand.
Okay. Can we pay to put movies in other tiers?
Yes, you can. Okay, let's wait a minute before we do this. I think everybody gets a chance to. Once a movie is paid for and moved, you cannot remove it again.
Okay.
I think
That's
that's
fair.
fair. That's fair. Okay.
Okay.
So to the chat too, everybody watching, thank you so much. There's like 26 people watching between X and YouTube. I don't know how many people on Rumble. I don't think it shows up on StreamYard, but you can super chat. It could be $2. Let's do $2. You can super chat to move a movie on a different tier, but once it's moved, that's it.
Well,
There's
I would
no-
say, I would personally put it in B tier, but I'm not going to complain if it's in the A tier. I'd complain if it was in the C tier,
I'm going to make an argument for why. Okay, because here's the thing. I get what Enzo is saying, but I think because there's just 3 tiers, I think that, and I don't mean this in any demeaning way, but it does in a sense lower the standard for what can be in the top tier. But, and I genuinely do think Army of Darkness, yes, I agree it's schlocky, but it's not like internally really like inconsistent for the most part. It's very well made. It's an example of a genuinely great B movie. It's a ton of fun. It's not, I don't know honestly which Evil Dead movie is my favorite, but I know this is the one I had the best time with. I think it's really, really good. It's freaking hilarious. I have no issue whatsoever putting this in the highest tier. I think that's, is
I
it
agree.
on the actual same level as something like The Thing as a movie? No, I don't think it is, but like I said, there's only 3 tiers here.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I would put this.
I've never loved you more, Gord.
I want to also add one caveat to the pay for the panel. As the birthday girl herself, I will allow myself just one birthday wish to move a movie in case it doesn't end up on the actual good.
No, don't waste your birthday wish on it. Do a birthday veto. Call it something
or
else.
whatever.
Yeah.
I'll figure out. But I get one as well. I just get one.
We can call it a birthday-do.
But this is Army of Darkness, as we were talking about. It's released October 9th, 1992. Ash is transported to the Middle Ages, where he must retrieve the I can't speak today. Thank you. Battle an army of the undead to return home. This is the 3rd movie in the Evil Dead franchise. Directed by Sam Raimi. Makeup artist is Robert Kurtzman, who later forms K&B EFX groups. The movie actually has 2 endings. A theatrical one where Ash returns to the present, while the alternative one has him oversleep into a post-apocalyptic future.
Too long.
Bruce Campbell has performed most of his own stunts, including the windmill fight scene.
Yeah.
In this. So I think, as always, these movies, I feel like I shouldn't honestly rate anything because I think everything should be actually good, because this is my top 26. But there are a lot of movies that I've read in the chat that some of you weren't fond of. So
I like every movie on this list.
I do not.
I don't.
There's movies on this list I don't like.
So where's this going? Watches movies are actually good.
I do think it belongs to the actually good. I mean, even if we're just doing the list by just if we're ranking by the descriptor, I don't know how you would say this is anything but actually good. It's at minimum good.
Right.
Okay. All right.
What's everyone's favorite line from this movie? I think
Right?
mine
You
is
got real ugly.
when he's at the end and he's like, "Ma'am, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the store." That's one of my favorites.
Hail to the king, baby.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would. You know what? I
It's
would
actually that's the Mandela effect. It's not "Hail to the King, baby." It's actually just "Hail to the King" and then
Yeah.
"Give me some sugar, baby."
There you
But
go.
people
Give me some
mix
sugar,
the
baby.
lines
That's what it
together.
is. Yes. Yes. Hi, Josh. Thank you. I actually woke up to a text from Max too, wishing me a happy birthday. I was like, guys, it's next week, but I appreciate you all. You guys are awesome.
I do think this is my boomstick is probably my favorite line, but it's the entire line that follows. It's
Yeah.
the complete descriptor. It's the 12-gauge double-barreled Remington S-Mart's top of the line. That whole
We were
shebang is
talking about
really
best
great.
speeches on my show last night, and I almost played this speech, but I didn't.
Yeah, where he's like, "Shop smart, shop smart."
S
You got
smart.
that?
Surprisingly, fun fact: my husband, who is not big into horror, this is one of his favorite movies.
Oh,
Not Evil Dead, not Evil Dead 2, just Army of Darkness.
Yeah, this is like a supernatural swords and sandals type.
It's a
knights and-
D&D movie.
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah,
in a
yeah,
way.
totally.
Yeah.
That's better description for sure.
Yeah. All right. I have a feeling we're gonna have a debate on the next one, but
Oh, we
here go.
absolutely.
Here's Johnny.
I fucking love this movie. The Shining, released May 23rd, 1980, directed by Stanley Kubrick. It's based off the Stephen King book. It's not to the T of the book. If you actually watch Stephen King's miniseries that he directed, like
Also sucks.
which that one's shut your
Horrible.
mouth, sucks. A writer descends into madness as a winter caretaker in the Overlook Hotel, influenced by a supernatural forces threatening the family. Special effects artist Tom Smith. Trivia: so Shelley Duvall was put through intense emotional stress, while Kubrick demanding up to 127 takes for one scene. The film's hedge maze was set so large it required its own fire marshal for it. I watch this movie every single December because it's not a October rotation for me. It is more a like I need winter time, right?
Mhm.
I need the snow. I need to be cold and just like, oh, just dread outside. So again, this is an actual good movie for me, but I leave it to the panel.
I think this should go in the lowest tier. I'm not even. This is gonna be my
All right,
highest
Leon,
favorite
I
tonight.
will see you later. Goodbye.
Let me make my case, gentlemen. First of all, This cannot be in the highest tier at the very least. And the reason is I saw Dr. Sleep is on this list. Dr. Sleep is better. I will die. Dr. Sleep is better than The Shining. So Dr. Sleep has to be a tier.
Let's just do an Edna Krabappel laugh.
The Shining, Dr. Sleep has to be higher.
Thank you.
Like that.
Thank you, everybody, for the birthday. Leon, I kind of agree with you. Don't. I mean, I love Dr. Sleep just almost as much as The Shining, because Dr. Sleep, Flanagan did such a well job of combining the book and Kubrick's movie.
Yeah.
To kind of cohesive.
He somehow made this movie good. In retrospect, fixed the issues of it not coinciding with the book, and I will talk later. That's way more important.
Now, see.
Time out.
Oh.
Sorry, Enzo.
No worries.
Josh! What the fuck, man? Wait. We need to make this real birthday celebration. Are we taking shots? Are there Silkies? Harry Potter naughty?
I'll take a shot.
I am drinking wine. I am drinking Nadia wine.
She's drinking herself.
I am drinking myself. Josh, you beautiful fucking bastard. You thank you, sir. Thank you.
Wouldn't be the first time I saw a woman do that.
Okay.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Impressive. Very nice.
And one more for you, Josh.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
That's you, Blush.
I'm buying you a bunch of drinks when you get out here. Bex. Wait, yeah, and so back to that. Wait.
Some
Never
chicks
mind.
just
Never
really
mind.
like their own brand. You know what I mean?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Hold on. If we may, for just a moment, because I tuned you out as soon as you said Dr. Sleep is better. Can you state your point once again, Leon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is coming from the place of somebody who, for one, loves a lot of Stephen King books. The Shining is one of his weakest books. Kubrick was gonna have a fuck of a job trying to adapt it, considering it's not a good story to begin with. Then not only did he adapt it very poorly, I do not think anything he does in the adaptation improves on the book. It just changes it in a way that is equally bad, or at least equally okay at best. Even seeing this at a young age, I don't get how this is a horror film. It's a liminal film. It is a movie that's makes you feel very
masterpiece of modern
claustrophobic,
horror is
but it
just
is not
on the poster.
The thing is, this movie at no point was ever scary unless you're maybe a domestic abuse victim, because then I could see it there.
If I may give 3 points to maybe try to sway Leon into putting in the top tier. First of all, I conceded with Army of Darkness, no problem. So, second of all, this movie personally should be in the A tier because I was on Cannoli's MMM about it. And that's how I met all you fine people. We're talking about this movie. So it's got a sentimental part of all of our hearts, I'd hope. And third of all, this movie, and I talked about this on MMM, there's that theory that I personally prescribe to, that is this movie, the reason why it's so different and the reason why Stephen King hates it is because Stan Kubrick is basically, first of all, he's a genius. We all know this. He's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. And I was very excited when I was older and I found out he's actually American and not English, like I always thought. He's one of the greatest filmmakers ever. But the reason why this movie is so much better is because, first of all, this idea that Jack Torrance, there's something intrinsically wrong with him. It's not just like The House doing supernatural stuff. But this movie kind of alludes to the fact that Jack Torrance molested his son.
Yes.
And I explained all that in the MMM. But like that is kind of like a big, I'm thinking that, kind of like how Eyes Wide Shut is secretly about how he faked the moon landing. Stanley Kubrick is also putting a hidden message that Stephen King is one of those types. And that's why Stephen King hates this movie so much, because it's very subtly like pointing fingers at him, there's lots of subtext and insane Easter eggs and the impossible geometry and architecture of the Outlook Hotel and all the little it's just a confusing fever dream of a movie. And if you were not scared by this movie, it's because you didn't have it loud enough. And I know it's a cheap shot that the soundtrack is what really makes it scary, but it's true. The soundtrack, very similar to Hereditary. Like this movie is like a curse Like you watching it is somehow you participating in some kind of satanic ritual just watching this movie.
Agreed.
On a side note, am I breaking out? Hold on, my chest is really red. Ugh.
Oh my god.
It
Are
must
you
be
alert?
blind.
Are you
I
allergic
think-
to
I
the
think-
wine? Oh, you know what? It
It
could be
could just be
yeah.
your
Or it could
flush,
be
your
this.
color.
flushed. No, you're getting flushed
Yeah,
from
it is.
alcohol.
You're getting
Yeah,
flushed from
I'll take
alcohol.
that. Oh, wow. Right.
Vex,
Like,
did you want to go ahead?
I
Yeah,
was
Vex,
listening to you, Enzo, but then
No,
I was
no
like,
worries.
why the fuck is my chest so tight?
No, yeah.
I was gonna say this is the only time I've wanted to call Leon the F word and actually mean it. I just say it in jest every other time. But I don't know. This is I think Stephen King is wildly overrated. I don't think his books are particularly good. He has maybe, of the ones that I've read, I've only liked like 2 of them, in all honesty. I don't think his film adaptations are very good, like especially the ones that he has input on. I did like what's the one, oh god, what's the one with the Pet Cemetery? I liked the adaptation of Pet Cemetery. This is a very rare instance, and probably the only one I can think of, where the movie is infinitely better than the source material. I feel like Stanley Kubrick took all of the meaningful and impactful parts of the novel, which, oh my god, I can only read a man describe getting cream pied so many times in a book. Really, a man describing it. But he took all the good parts and managed to make something of semblance out of it. This is like essential horror. I don't care if it's like on the top of every list or if people don't find it scary. There's so much it does incredibly right. I'm Leon, I can't with you. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. I mean, that's
What's
kind of
wrong
why
with
I
you?
was being I'm going to be harder on some of these movies because there's a lot that belong in the A tier list. So, the funner,
This
more
deserves
silly
to be
stuff.
with the thing. This
Yeah,
deserves to be
totally.
with the thing.
At the top of
So,
the I
actually
think the
think,
thing's better. I think the thing's better than The Shining.
Agreed,
I do
but
too.
it's
Agreed,
there in
agreed.
if we're in terms of this ranking system, this movie especially deserves to be up there with the thing.
Well, for me, I would say, I agree. The Thing is better. This is my number 2 horror movie of all time. I do think this is a scarier movie. This movie has scared me since I was a little.
Yeah.
Interesting thing, going to Vex's point about this being a rare example of a movie besting a book. I think what's interesting about Stephen King is he has numerous examples of the movies adapted from his books being significantly better. This is one. Shawshank Redemption is one. The
Stand by
Green
Me.
Mile is one. Stand by Me
Mist.
is one.
The Mist.
We'll get to The Mist. I've never read The Mist, so I can't say, but we'll get to that movie.
Okay.
But he has, like, there are numerous examples of the movies being. I think Misery is a better movie than his book. Although I would say those two are relatively close, but I do think the movie is better. But yeah, I think this movie is, it's a masterclass in horror atmosphere. Really, Hereditary is the closest thing I've seen to this in creating a haunting atmosphere.
Same.
And I do agree with Enzo. I think this is one of the most effective soundtracks or musical scores like really ever put to film. It adds so much to this movie, and it actually helps to tell the story in a way that's very, very rare. There's almost something. It's almost hard to describe. There's almost like the music itself is alluding to supernatural dark forces going on in the film. It's really, really interesting how much it highlights the madness that's overcoming these characters in a way that words can't.
One thing that makes the movie extra scary is the fact that a lot of the songs music or it's pre-existing music, and a lot of the shots are long takes, and the composer, the editor, like it's just a happenstance that a lot of this pre-existing music like fits so well with what's happening. Like it's Mickey Mousing a lot, where like the music literally like reacts to what Jack Torrance is doing. Like when he points at the book, there's a music sting. When he closes it, there's another music sting. And it's more interesting because this music is pre-existing. It wasn't composed for the movie. And it kind of talks about how like the devil, the Satan was Lucifer was the angel of music. So the idea that, his influence is found in music, naturally, like when you play back, music backwards and stuff, that's like the devil literally putting his own influence on this movie. The fact that the soundtrack matches what's happening by happenstance, it's more than just a coincidence. It's crazy.
I real quick want to attack, not attack. That's the wrong word. Address something that Gord said. Obviously, I'm out matched on this one, and so I'll take the L. But Gord said this movie's a masterclass in horror atmosphere. I agree. This film excels at that. It's brilliant at that. I feel like that's all it fucking has.
And so, have you ever seen Room 237, the documentary on it? That's wild. The different conspiracy around it, like it could be based off the Native
Indian
American
genocide.
massacre, genocide, or Nazis, and like there's a ton of different. I highly anybody who loves this movie, I highly recommend that documentary. Or even if you don't like this movie, the documentary will make you re-examine this movie when you rewatch it too. So.
I'd say there's also a person like I wouldn't go so far as to call it personal like bias, but part of what terrified me about this movie when I first saw it and subsequent times after the fact was, okay, so if anyone doesn't happen to know, my actual name is Daniel. My parents growing up called me Danny. So seeing him ride his big wheel, which I used those as a kid quite often. Him riding that thing through the hotel, which looked super fun and cool, and then riding up on these two ghost twins, them saying hello, Danny, was one of the most terrifying things I have ever seen. And it's one of those things that, while obviously now being an adult, it doesn't really scare me the way it did then. It takes me back though to a place that it's a feeling that's kind of imprinted on me. Not imprinted in the weird Twilight way, but
that's not on this list. That's not. On this list.
It's one of those things where when it comes in the movie, it's like, wow, I can actually almost remember the feeling of seeing that the first time.
This movie blew me away the first time I saw it, and I saw it very young, probably too young. And because my mom and my godmother were big Stephen King fans, so they intaked everything Stephen King. Actually, my first book I was given was Tommyknockers, and talk about a weird book and a weird movie. Yeah,
I'd be worried that would make you swear off reading.
What's your channel for your Tommyknockers?
Huh?
Nothing.
What? What? Where is this going, guys? Actually, good. All right. Okay. All right. All right. I'll put it up there. Okay. All right.
Also, real quick, Vex, Base Pet Cemetery is Stephen King's best work. That was a good call on your part.
That's his best book, too. I
really
personally love The Stand. The Stand is my favorite King book, but Pet Cemetery's book and movie adaptation are probably S tier in my eyes for King adaptations.
You got a movie?
Oh my god! Who just said that?
Me.
No fear. Oh my god. He's so cute.
He's adorable. Just remember, that's the kid that says boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
The scene that gets me in Pet Cemetery, and it's not on. It was almost on this list, but I had to shrink it down. Was when he gets his heel cut.
Oh yeah,
that is like one of my.
That is one of those. Yeah, that's one of those. That's probably the earliest like movie site I ever saw that really made me cringe deeply.
Hostel did that great too, because like he tries to get up and it like snaps and he falls over. The Achilles heel is just so like makes your hair stand.
Are the novel? Sorry, go ahead, Nadia.
Dreamcatcher, don't they? He shits out like fucking aliens. Like
he does, yeah.
It's a butt alien.
Yeah.
The best, by the way, the best butt monster is Bubba Hotep. The mummy sucks your soul out your butthole. It's a freaking hilarious.
Are the Shawshank Redemption and Green Mile novels worth reading?
Yes.
Well, Green Mile is like it's a series of like smaller books. The Green Mile series is good. It's pretty dang good.
Mm-hmm.
The Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption is kind of a short story. It's fine. But the movie's
like, way better.
The movie obliterates it.
Okay, gotcha.
Reading's gay.
Thank you, love it. And
I still think his best book is The Long Walk. It's the only Stephen King book I've read more than once.
You didn't have,
and I don't think they'll ever do a movie of. Like, I kind of hope they don't do a movie of it because we have too political a climate to where they'll turn it into like a Trump metaphor. It'll be stupid and gay, but it would also, if they were going to do it right, they'd have to make it like brutally violent. Like brutal. Like, it's funny. Like, everyone always brings up like Battle Royale when they talk about the Hunger Games. Long Walk actually was a big inspiration on both. It came before those.
It's in production.
They've said that for a while. I don't know if it's actually going to come true. Now, granted, the only thing that gives me hope for it is that I think Frank Darabont does have the rights to it, but I don't know where it's at right now in its stages.
Thank you, Sketch, for the $20 super chat and the happy birthday wishes for you, my friend. Since we are Stranger Things buddies, I got. Thank you, sir. And thank you for the person who pulled my clips. That's you, Vex.
Oh, wait, what?
That was the clip you pulled.
Yes.
For me.
Oh, I know which ones are the ones that I pulled. I can tell.
Okay. Oh, thanks.
Okay, well, I can tell because I remember.
All right, moving on to the next movie.
How's he even walking right now, Tuck? He looks like he's gonna walk it off. He's gonna be fine.
Oh shit! It didn't pull up. Okay, there we
go.
go.
Like a very interesting argument for this film. Let's go.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil, released January 22nd, 2010 at Sundance. Two hillbillies are mistaken for killers by college students, leading to a series of darkly comedic misunderstandings and deaths. Directed by Eli Craig. Special effects artist is Sarah Burgest. Trivia: the film was shot in just under 25 days on a tight budget of under $5 million, and Alan Tudyk improvised most of Tucker's lines, enhancing the film's humor.
May I?
You may.
All right, I really like this film. I remember watching this when it came out because I was hearing mumblings about it. It's not for everyone because I know there's a lot of people that would watch this and just think like, oh, this isn't really horror. It's not really comedy. It's not my vibe. So I'm trying to be a little bit critical of this, right? I would put it in the top tier if it were me. But objectively, as a whole film, I think we'll have to put it in Nadia Watches Movies.
Same. Yeah, because just like Army of Darkness, it's fun and there's it's got some laughs, but it's a silly movie. And there's some great bad hammy overacting, especially from the villain. He's such a douchebag. But it's like I said, all these they can't all be winners. They can't all be the A-list.
Yes, they can.
Yeah, they should be. But...
There was
I'm
up to
take
me.
a
Yes,
step
it can.
further though, to be fair, and actually say what the fuck Nadia is where this should go. Not because it's a bad movie, but I love this movie. I think the comparison to Army of Darkness is actually a bad one because Army of Darkness is still a horror film. It's a horror comedy, but it's still a horror film. This isn't in the slightest. Yeah. This is purely a comedy which uses slasher tropes, and I don't even know that you can make the argument that slashers are necessarily always horror because this is basically like if Jackass wanted to spoof horror or whatnot. This is a scary movie that is just actually funny. I don't think this should even be in the running because I don't think it's horror in the slightest. So while it's a great movie, I think what the fuck, Nadia, because it shouldn't be on a horror list.
So the reason why one of the reasons I love this movie is it's actually shot almost like two movies in one. So from the perspective of the kids, you can even tell by the film itself, it's like more saturated with the colors. It's more that like remake of the Friday the 13th, like when early 2000 remakes of horror movies were coming out with
heavy saturation.
Stars. Yeah. And if you actually look at it from the perspective from the hillbillies, it's actually a lot lighter, the coloring for the screens and stuff, like the filming. So so I like that you actually are watching a horror movie from the kids' perspectives up into the to the point. I think the third act kind of falls off a little bit, to be honest. But I have fun with
it. It's a really underrated movie. It's a really well-made movie. It's better than it has any right to be. I just don't think it should be on a horror list. I don't think there's anything horror about this. Whereas I think you can actually make the argument for like Army of Darkness still being a horror film. I just don't think you can. This one. So,
the justification is simply the fact that this is categorized as horror. I mean, it's officially categorized as
it's horror comedy.
Horror comedy.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with the middle tier on this one. I agree with your point about the third act does fall off a little bit. Like I think the whole thing with the guy who's a jerk, who's kind of the film's villain, is a little too over the top, even for this movie. And I'll be honest, one of the things that kind of weighs this movie down for me is the sort of romance plot going on. I find it really hard to get on board with because I'm just like, part of what's funny about this movie is how it's poking it's like this, all this crazy stuff is happening, but it's like, yes, this is a massive, terrible coincidence. They're not slashes or anything. So it's almost
misunderstanding
in an odd way, realistic in a sense.
Yeah.
Which makes the romance fall really, really flat to me. I mean, there's like, it's not terrible because it's kind of cute, but at the same time, like, this girl's not falling for this guy. Yeah. Come on.
She's too hot for him, for sure.
She's way too hot for her. It's like, she would be nice and sympathetic potentially, but I'm like, this girl's not falling for this guy. It's a little too
maybe she reminds him of her dad.
Well, yeah, let me put it this way. A girl like that's like fucking head over heels like that with me, you know, I would assume she's either dumb or trying to harvest my kidneys or something, you know.
Like if she were really dumb, maybe I might be able to buy it a little bit more, but they don't really portray her that way. I'm just like, I have a really hard time believing she'd really be into this guy. It always kind of bugged me in it, but yeah, I do really like the movie. I think it's a solid film. Yeah. But it's nowhere near like the level of something like, you know, Army of Darkness or The Shining or The Thing. It's not in that tier where it's just like, yeah, this is awesome. I think it's right in the middle. It's a solid movie.
Trying to argue it for the B tier, like, because Leon, you know, you're saying Army of Darkness is superior because it's a horror movie with comedic elements, and this is a comedy movie with horror elements. But really, Army of Darkness is not even a horror movie; it's a dark fantasy.
No. I'm saying this doesn't have horror elements. Watch the entire sequence, like in Army of Darkness, when before he gets the boomstick and he's like in that pit. That is a horror film. Like, that is true. All. It's not really playful. Like that is shot like a play it straight horror moment. As opposed to, I don't think this movie is horror in the slightest. And to be fair, again, I don't consider slashers to inherently be horror. And this,
but that's because you're not scared of them. Like I don't.
No. It's not that I'm not scared of them. I think slashers can be horror, but by the same token, that'd be like saying that war movies can be horror movies. I mean, sure, there's war as hell and whatnot, but no, there's nothing intrinsically like I don't know if scary is the right word.
But I feel this movie is a good introduction to somebody for horror. So like if you have somebody who maybe you have a partner who's not really into horror and you are, this is kind of a good middle ground in a sense.
And the verse evil thing clearly tells it the intent is certainly to play off of horror tropes,
making fun of the genre.
Right. Even the scary movie.
Whether it does it effectively, you could argue is maybe a knock against its quality, perhaps. But I think it's trying to play with horror.
Well, the parts in the movie that are played like a horror film, like when they see their cabin, you know, for the first time, it's all horrendous looking. Like all the scariest stuff in the movie is the funniest parts of the movie, you know, like with all the death scenes and all the stuff that it's filmed and portrayed like a horror movie, but because we know what's going on, like we're laughing our asses off when the dude's getting all the nails in his face and stuff, you know.
By the way, I'm not trying to make a case for being the lowest tier at this point because everyone at this point, agrees with that for me. So yeah, put it in the middle tier. I was just trying to make sure my point is understood, that I don't think this is even close to being a horror film.
All right, it's the first one to make Nadia watches movies.
Yeah, as long as we all
watch fucking movies. I do fucking watch movies, you fucks.
Because I think the real disagreements are going to happen when like some of us like a movie and some of us just flat out don't like a movie. You know, that's going to be fun.
Well, I have a feeling the next one's going to be a discussion.
Well, no. Tell that to Cotton Weary. You wouldn't believe how easy.
Scream, released December 20th, 1996. I already heard that a mass killer stalks high schoolers, forcing Sidney Prescott and her friends to unravel a mystery while subverting the horror tropes. Director Wes Craven, special effects artist, again, Robert Kurtzman of K&B EFX groups. The Ghostface mask was inspired by Edward Munch, the screen painting. Drew Barrymore was originally cast as Sidney, but opted for the smaller role of Casey Becker. So, this is one of my favorite movies because I'm gonna hold on. If you can't tell, I have a ton of Scream stuff. I love every single entry into this movie, even the last few of them.
Wow,
I forgive them for. Listen. I get it. They're objectively, some of them are very bad in the thing, and I get it. It's this fucking movie, but. This is just a fun movie for me. Fuck you. It's an actual good. Go ahead, Bex. Go ahead.
I want to put this film in. Okay, again, we're up against something that's near basic perfection as The Thing. Okay, so Scream by comparison, I don't find that It's weird because I don't consider the Scream movies horror movies. I consider them more thriller movies. Because nothing's really. There's nothing genuinely scary about this. Like, all of the characters are pretty dumb. Ghostface is pretty dumb. Like, this dude trips over a bottle while trying to kill someone in the first movie. Like, come on, man. He's not even a compelling killer.
Yeah.
He's
a
killer, man. I'm trying to be scared.
What about when Rose McGowan's just throwing beer bottles at him and he's like, ow.
I mean, the opening of this movie almost got axed because they showed the studio the opening where Drew Barrymore basically gets like disemboweled, right? Like it's actually very brutal. From what I remember when I went back to rewatch all of them last year with Chris because he'd never seen them. And it's actually very brutal. So it almost got completely axed because of how
I played that scene on a loop after her saying Kamala needs to be Mamala of the country.
Oh.
This movie goes to the bottom of the tier. Scary Movie did it better.
Yeah, a Scary Movie's great. I love part 3. That's my favorite. But
I'll be honest, I think the first Scary Movie is really, really weak. I think 2 and 3 are way better.
3 was funny because it was PG-13 and still kept up the laughs. But Scream, man, I mean, I gotta say, like, I underestimated this movie when I first saw it because, like, I saw the MTV Movie Awards and it won. It beats Independence Day, and I was like, oh, I guess I should watch that Scream movie. I went and saw it in the dollar movie, and I was like, yeah, it's a great little murder mystery. And rewatching it again, I've seen it a bunch of times, but like, it's very well made. It's a tight, fun little script. It's an awesome little mystery. The first time you watched it, the idea that there's 2 killers, that was pretty cool at the time. But the thing is, you could argue it's one of the best slasher movies ever, but still slasher movies in general are they're pretty mid-tier for me in terms of horror in general. I prefer satanic stuff and, cosmic horror and existential horror and monsters. I love all that shit. Slashers, they're fun. They have their place. But this was a great, breath of fresh air to the slasher genre. But still, this is interesting because I would put it personally in the B tier, but I wouldn't mind if you guys outvoted it and put it in the A or the C tier. This movie, I could understand
A tier all the way, baby. A tier all the way.
I hate the sequels. The sequels are stupid. I don't
fucking
like
love
them.
the sequels. I like all of them.
But this first one does have this really tight script. It's got this, at the halfway point, they're at the house party, and that's where the rest of the movie takes place. And it's this big convoluted scheme by these 2 sadistic, psychopathic, possibly homosexual serial killers.
I can fix him. He's coming back for the next movie. He's coming back for the next movie.
Allegedly.
Yeah,
you think
there's
it's gonna be a flashback, or you think you're legit coming back?
I think they're actually going to go with the original script that they wanted for the second or third movie, where he actually survived the TV falling on his head and he was in prison and escaped and ended up being the ghost. So that's one of, and I think that's one of Wes Craven's original scripts for a sequel for it. So,
well, yeah, me personally, I put it in the B tier, but it's got great cinematography, great soundtrack, dude. The end credit song, the little techno, little end credit song they got. I used to jam.
My man, Enzo, my man. All right, all right.
I
Where
think
do you want it, guys?
I would put Scream in the second tier. I think it was very much of its time. I think it's very much of its time. I still think it's solid. I like it. I would say this. I actually think that Last Action Hero did the meta thing better personally, because I think if there's one thing that kind of bugs me about Scream is it kind of wants to have its cake and eat it on that level, where it's like it's acknowledging all these things, but it's also doing all of them at the same time, which I feel like is taking it a little too far, because I'm like, I'm talking about, they always run up the stairs. Then Neve Campbell runs up the stairs, and I'm just like, that really kind of annoys me. Well, I mean, it's like I don't mind playing with some of those, like
her own door. That's why she has to do it.
I don't mind make the exact same argument using Last Action Hero as my reasoning. I love this movie, but I think it's a C-tier movie because it is a by the numbers slasher that just is very clever about.
You're coming in and out with your mic.
Really? Is this better? That's strange.
Yeah. It's StreamYard, dude. StreamYard ducks.
Yeah, StreamYard. Okay.
Anyway, point is, Last Action Hero is the perfect comparison. This is a very by the numbers slasher film. It's very clever about how it makes fun of the numbers. I don't think that's while I love it, I don't think it's worthy of B or A tier. I do think this is a C, but it's a movie I love nonetheless. So
could you argue it's a better slasher film than most?
In some senses, I would say it is. In some senses, I tend to agree with you. Most slashers are just not that good. The slasher genre in general, I'm just not all that fond of. I think the majority of them are garbage. Yeah. This one, I think it's a solid movie, probably on the same level as like Tucker and Dale. That's why I'm kind of putting in that middle tier. Like I said, I think it was much better during its time. I think having so many sequels actually has really hurt it, to be honest. I think it's kind of just running the same ideas over and over and over again, and it's watering it down. Granted, for me personally, I've only seen the second one, and I was just like, okay, you didn't need a second one. Just stop. Don't make any more. And they've made 7 or 8 of them at this point. But yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think it's aged I don't think it's aged super well, but I still like it. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a really good movie when you're like a teenager, but then as you grow up, you're just like, it's fine. There's way better out there.
Leon's got a dip for Saturday Night Hypnosis. So Leon, thank you for at least sticking around for the first half. What's up?
Before I dip, can you pull up the list real quick again?
Yeah.
We're gonna lose our resident hot take expert. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that. Such a fucking walking garbage proposal.
Oh,
bad
shit.
Take.
Where'd everybody else go?
Oh, there we go. Just wanted to call out. Alien is on this list. Alien is literally one of the most perfect films of all time. It is one of the very, very few actual 10 out of 10 movies I've ever seen.
I agree.
Wanted to throw out that is one of the best horror films, one of the best movies, the whole 9. And then I'm going to leave on another hot take, and it'll literally be the last thing I do. 13 Ghosts fucking sucks, and it always has.
Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out of here! Go!
Yeah.
Go! Thank you, Leon. I love you.
That was a hot take.
That was not a hot take. That was a true take.
Yeah, I mean, I would put. We'll get to it, but I mean, I lovingly put it in the bottom tier.
All right, I'm gonna put
13 Ghosts sounds like a sequel to Birth of the Nation.
Well, I do love Scream. Obviously. I think it's not at the level of The Thing or The Shining or Army of Darkness in technicality, like in filmmaking. So I will put it on the middle tier.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Okay.
I can concede a middle tier.
Zach's for 20 Canadian dollars. Please don't spend this on tunnels. I'm not that Jesus, I don't wear tiny hats.
Don't spend it on a glitter bomb vest.
I know. Thank you, Sarah, very much so. For you,
no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Out of my eyes!
Okay.
Hey, look, Enzo, it's that scene that wasn't in The Wicker Man that we watched. Right. I can't believe there's a version of that movie that doesn't have that.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next movie.
Where?
The ship brought me back. I told you she won't let me leave.
Event Horizon. Actually, this was the first members' watch party last month. It released August 15th, 1997. A rescue crew investigates a spaceship that returns from a black hole with a malevolent force tied to a hellish dimension, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, surprisingly for a lot of people. Special effects artist was Pauline Foyler. The film's gore-heavy scenes were cut down after test audience found them to be too disturbing. There's actually a cut somewhere on a VHS somewhere that's way more graphic that Anderson said exists, but it's probably never going to be released. The ship's design was inspired by Notre Dame's cathedral. So this is one of my favorite space movies.
Totes.
Sam Neill doesn't have an ass, by the way, after rewatching it.
Possession.
Very very Lovecraftian. While again, all these movies are A tiers for me. Technically, I can kind of see this as Nadia watches movies because I think there are better movies on this list. But floor is open.
Yeah, I agree. This is B tier because it's a schlocky movie. It's got a lot of, kind of rushes the end. But I do love the ticking clock, and this movie definitely needs to get a special award because it is, if not the scariest movie on the list, it might be one. It's definitely one of the scariest movies on this list, if not the scariest one, because I'm typically not afraid of movies that take place in like caves, like the Descent. Like I'm never going spelunking. I'm never going to Neptune. So like this shouldn't scare me so much. But I think the thing is, when I saw this in the theaters, me and my mom went to go see this, by the way. I was like 12. And this is one of those movies where I didn't realize, like, it was marketed, like you see the DVD cover and it's like Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne with a green filter and the ship and lightning. You don't realize this movie is going to be like ball-shakingly terrifying. And it, you know, it's got this great lore that takes place in the Warhammer universe, you know. But yeah, I mean, I would probably put it in a B, but it is definitely Paul W.S. Anderson's best movie. And,
Yes,
and
it is.
easily his best looking movie. It looks fantastic. That anamorphic widescreen, and also Michael Kamen, one of my favorite composers, he did the music to this, but I didn't realize that it was him and Orbital. They did that Halcyon and On song that you've heard on like the Hacker soundtrack and Mortal Kombat. It's the one that goes like na na na.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was a Michael Kamen with like a DJ, and also like the movie's end credits happen and it's Prodigy, Smack My Bitch Up. So it's like, oh my God, this movie has such like a special place in my heart, because it, you know, just rewatching it the other day, it still fucking gets your hair standing up on end. It freaks you out, man. It's a scary movie.
Yep. Vex, Gord.
You know, Gord, you go ahead first.
Oh fuck.
Oh,
Fuck.
so I've only watched this one time, but it was fairly recently. It was before though. You scheduled this tier though. I saw this movie the first time. I had a pretty good time with it. I don't really know quality wise where I think it stacks up. It's because I mean, I rarely look for that the first time I watch something. I just kind of let it hit me. On the one hand, I am very impressed that this came from a director as generally terrible as Paul W.S. Anderson. I mean, granted, he has a couple of movies that I think are enjoyable, but you know, Mortal Kombat's enjoyable. The first Resident Evil is pretty enjoyable. But neither one of those are actually like good movies. I mean, you're kind of enjoying them for their own silliness. This one, I think he's flirting with making, at the very least, flirting with making a genuinely good movie. But at the same time, the whole time I'm watching it, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wished that a better director was at the helm, because I think this could have been a much better movie than it was. I really like the concept. I would say I like some of the effects. Some of them are not aged super well.
Right.
I think Sam Neill is really good for a movie like this. I think most of the cast is pretty solid. So I'm kind of being purely subjective with where I'm putting this. So I would put this right in the middle tier, but semi-flirting with the lower tier, just because, again, I think there's a lot that the movie does wrong.
Flirt with it harder.
But
Take it to dinner.
But I am going to put it in the middle tier for now. But it's like, this is one of those movies that I could see me revisiting and saying, you know what, this really isn't that good. But I still would call it an enjoyable film, at the very least.
All right, Bex, go
This
ahead.
is the worst movie on this list.
Ooh,
This is hands down the worst movie
Did
on
you
this
see
list.
Maximum? Wait. Have you seen?
Yeah,
Maximum?
I was going to say, did you watch Maximum Overdrive?
I didn't get around to that
Okay,
one.
all
No.
right.
Okay,
Okay,
no,
just
it's
making
not.
sure.
Look, I'll be fine with
Hold on.
putting this.
Sorry.
I'd be fine with putting this in the C tier because it did get some, you know, low ratings critically, but it is still pretty freaky. You got to concede it that it's a scary
No,
movie.
you know
No?
what? Okay, let me. Okay, so I watched this movie for the first time a few days ago. Okay, because dumb take, woman brain take. I have confused this movie with Platoon forever.
That's interesting.
I don't know why.
Confuse this
I'm
with
still
Platoon.
trying to work out how
By
to
the way,
find
I've
one.
never seen Platoon, but I know what Platoon is. At
It's a
least
Vietnam
How
War
could the
movie.
I don't know.
I'm just picturing Vex talk about
I
like the
feel like your
Vietnam War movie
opinion
Event
is no
Horizon.
longer-
It's like mixing
No,
up like Pulp Fiction and Home Alone.
I feel like your opinion's not valid by that. But
No,
go ahead.
listen, I corrected it though. Okay, so now I have seen this movie. It is not Platoon. This is basically just a Doom knockoff. Like all of the the lore is just Doom. So Paul W.S. Anderson just took the idea for Doom, which was like, oh, let me just like throw it in a little more of a futuristic setting instead of just having demons spawn everywhere. The cast is very good. The performances are very good. I like Sam Neill a lot. I thought he was well cast in this. I have to agree with Gord. If a better director were behind this, it would have been a better movie, but that doesn't forgive all of the massive issues the script has. Like, I find the pacing was pretty atrocious. By the time anything happens, you're well over an hour into the film. There's just like a lot of character motivations that don't make sense. There's genuine continuity errors that kind of shocked me. Like, one bitch was apparently just like injured in a background and disappeared for like 30 minutes and then showed up in the final act only to be dragged by.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I was just like, how is that such a huge thing that you just kind of forgot about?
There was a lot on the cutting room floor for this film.
Yeah, I can see that there was definitely some like studio interference, but I like the general concept. This is a concept I could get on board with. I like the effects, again, just Doom effects, really. But this movie is just objectively terrible. Like, I can see it being a fun watch. But I'm just saying, like, critically, as a film, this film fucking sucks. And the weird part is, it's like Paul W. Anderson's second best movie.
What's his first?
Mortal Kombat, baby.
Okay, all right. I could succeed to putting it in the C tier as well, because I mean, you know, the C tier is going to be a pretty low list anyway. But like I said, like, first of all, the fact that we're never going to get the director's cut, you know, we're never going to get the extended hell scenes, which were so. Just the flashes you see are
I want
so
more of that.
hardcore.
Why didn't we get more of that?
Yeah, because it was too hardcore.
I kind of get the sense that there's a part of most people who watch this, if you have any familiarity with Paul W.S. Anderson and you watch Event Horizon, part of the reason you might end up mentally placing it higher than it deserves is because it did come from him. And you're like, wow, he's actually flirting with high concept here and doing some of it well. But like what Vex is describing, I'm like, that's kind of what I suspect would probably happen if I rewatch it. I'm like, yeah, this is enjoyable, but it's just, and granted, it's like, whether it's the studio's fault or not, it's like, well, but what's in the movie? What am I watching? It's like, I can't base the score on what could have been.
Well, in terms of like the pacing issues, like, I actually enjoy the fact that the whole movie, I mean, obviously it takes place over like 100 something days, but really the meat of the movie takes place over the course of 20 hours. And I like the idea that like no one really dies until like that last, like, we're leaving the ship moment. You know, there's some injuries. And also another thing that's interesting is like there's like 3 survivors out of a crew of like 8 or 9, which is actually pretty good odds for most movies like this. You know, usually you have one sole survivor. But yeah, I mean, I could argue like, yeah, this is a schlocky film.
Like, I don't like, it's weird because I don't have any trouble understanding why a horror fan would love this movie and put it amongst their favorites. That's easy to understand.
Yeah.
It's just, when you break it down, it's probably not going to hold together all that well.
Yeah.
The concept of hell and the Lovecraftian of it is what terrified me. Still terrifies me to this day.
Existential horror.
Yeah.
Just very poorly executed. I like that idea. Just very, very poorly executed. Just play Doom or play Dead Space. Either of those two. Way better executed.
Well, you know, great set design and great production design and great cinematography in this movie, even with the dated special effects.
All right, moving on to the next movie, which is
lives and reigns with the Father and the Holy Spirit. Damien.
I fucking love this movie. The Exorcist. This movie terrifies me to this day, but religious horror always gets to me. Released December 26th, another horror movie that was released in Christmas time, right after Christmas, 1973. Two priests battle a demonic possession of a young girl after a medical science fails her desperate mother. By the way, the book is completely different. The book is supposedly based off a true story. It takes place, I believe it's a little boy that's possessed. Director,
like it doesn't take place like around like Georgetown College or University or whatever, something like that. Yeah.
Director Will why the fuck can I talk today? Makeup artist Dick Smith. Trivia: the set was refrigerated to 30 below Fahrenheit for you Canadians. 0 for the breath effects in the exorcism scene. Several crew members claim the production was cursed after unexplained accidents similar to Poltergeist, actually. So this is definitely an A tier for me, baby. I absolutely love this movie. I will watch it once a year. It terrifies me each time. But I open it to the panel. The floor is open.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Okay.
I put it over The Thing because objectively, it's like one of the few horror movies nominated for Best Picture. It is obviously, I personally find Event Horizon scary, but it's creepy. It's got jump scares. This movie is objectively one of the scariest movies ever made, and it's disturbing, and it's so grounded in realism. So like all the satanic stuff that happens, just it's one of those great examples. If like you play the movie straight and you have one supernatural or out of this world element, it'll come off way more believable. And this movie does that so well, and it's got this like great like documentary style to the filmmaking that William Friedkin's famous for, and it's scarier when you get older. Like when you realize the subtext and what they're actually talking about. There's a lot of scenes of people talking in a doctor's office, and that's not scary for a kid. But when you're older, you're like, this is terrifying,
The reason why I even saw this movie is this movie actually terrified my dad when he first saw it overseas. And my dad saw me one day watching, I think, Buffy, where they had like vampires, and he realized like I was into this stuff. And he's like, oh, let me rent you The Exorcist. So he rented me The Exorcist and had me watch it by myself in my bedroom, which, by the way, I lived in a haunted house. Like, no joke, haunted things happened in this house. In a little like tube TV that with the VCR still attached to it, where you just plug it in. By myself, watch this movie. Very young, too young probably. So yeah, absolutely love this movie. Bex, Gord.
No, this is one of those like essential horror movies. Like it doesn't, whether it creeps you out or not, it's just, this manages to do a lot really well that I feel like religious horror as a genre has just been copying this film ever since. But making cheap copies. I really do feel this is like the best of the best when it comes to religious horror. So I would place it next to The Thing, at the top of the list personally. But it's one of those movies too, though, that I couldn't just put on and watch. So I can understand why people would be a little bit turned off. You have to be in a mood for this movie, otherwise you won't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm almost giving you
out.
Yeah, Heretic was fucking ass. There's no sneak diss needed for that. I will say it out loud. That movie fucking sucked.
So I'm almost going to have 3 takes rolled into one here. I do think this is a great movie. I don't think it's in the highest tier of great, personally. I think this is more like an 8 out of 10 than a 10 out of 10, because I do think it has a good amount of unnecessary fat on it. I also don't think this movie is all that scary. At least it's not to me. That's purely subjective on my part, which is odd that I'm not particularly scared of this movie, because this is one of those things that was built up a lot growing up. This is one of those movies it's one of the few movies I actually was not allowed to watch until a certain age. So when I finally hit 13 and was allowed, I was like, this isn't nearly as scary as I thought it was. I kind of and my conclusion to that is I think that Reagan is overexposed in the movie. I think she's almost in the movie too much, to where I just kind of get used to seeing her acting the way she does. I do think this is the best possession movie, the best exorcism movie. I actually think Hereditary is a better movie than this, and that's a possession movie. But I think this is probably the best exorcism movie. But I actually think Exorcism of Emily Rose is a scarier movie than this, oddly enough. I do think this is great. I do think it belongs in the top tier. I don't think it's anywhere close to something like The Thing or The Shining. I would put this like kind of personally in that second tier of horror movies, where it's great, but it's not like a masterpiece to me. I think it's a great movie, but it's not one that I find myself coming back to over and over again. I probably should watch it relatively soon now that I am a bit older. It has been a little while since I've watched it, but not super long. I mean, I'm talking maybe like 6-7 years. But I've never found this movie especially scary. I think Reagan's a bit overexposed.
Interesting. I wonder if you would, because there's different cuts of the movie too. They added things back into it later.
Yeah. I've seen both cuts.
Okay. I put it up there with Shining, The Thing, and Army of Darkness, because I think objectively it is better than what we've put so far in the other 2 tiers.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I would say, it is a better movie, I think, than Army of Darkness. I do think The Shining is a better movie than The Exorcist, but I don't think I honestly think The Thing is kind of sitting by itself right now. It's in where it belongs.
It's like an S tier all the way back.
Like really the only movie I think on this list that competes with it objectively is probably Alien.
Okay. Well, let's move on. Let's get
big giveaway, everybody. I love Alien.
American Werewolf in London, not Paris, in London. Released August 21st, 1981. An American tourist transforms into a werewolf after surviving an attack in England, haunted by his undead friend. Director John Landis. Special effect artist Rick Baker. Transformation scene took 6 days to film. Won the first Oscar for Best Makeup. All songs in the soundtrack are references to the moon. I love this movie. To me, this falls more into horror comedy because there are way more funnier moments, and there are some terrifying moments. And mind you, a lot of these movies I saw very young, so I have like a nostalgia for them and how I felt for them at that time. So to me, this is one of the best werewolf movies, and by far one of the best werewolf transformation scenes in a movie. But I open it to the floor.
Well, I think it's easily the best werewolf transformation scene ever put to film. And I agree. This is very much a horror comedy, and I'm very like I know the last time I watched this was probably about 9 months ago or so. You know, it's really impressive how well the movie balances its tone. It's rarely like a genuinely scary movie. It's like, I mean, I guess it's more disturbing when you watch him transform and you see what he's capable of as a werewolf. Like it's pretty wild. But I wouldn't go I probably wouldn't put this in the top tier. I put it like at the top of the second tier because there are moments where I feel like Landis's style gets in the way of it a little bit. Like the dream sequences, like the whole, like his little odd dream sequences where like where he dreams like the Nazi soldiers come in and blow like the family. I'm like, what? This is so weird. I don't think it fits the I think that scene is actually really bad. I kind of get what he was going for, but I'm like, this is really stupid. That like I would cut that scene out completely. Like it's in such odd contrast with like say like the dream he has where he's like running naked in the woods and stuff. I'm like, okay, that one fits his, that one kind of fits the movie a little bit because it's kind of animalistic what he's doing in that dream. Whereas the other one, I'm just like,
the director of Animal House scored. Okay,
I know. I know. Like I said, his kind of style's getting in the way there. I think like there's that scene, and I do think the movie takes almost a little too long to really pick up with the werewolf stuff. Now, once it gets going, it's really, really awesome. But I do think it has some pacing issues. But it's a really good movie. Like it's a high 7 to me. So I put it in the middle tier.
All right, I can agree to that. Bex, Endo.
I haven't watched a lot of werewolf movies. This is one I have seen. I didn't get a chance to rewatch it for this one, but I remember enjoying it. But I think I'd place it in the middle tier. Like it's not top tier brilliance again because we have 3 tiers. It's definitely not terrible, but like it was solid from what I remember. So yeah, I wish I had a chance to rewatch this one. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, objectively, I think this is the best werewolf movie ever made. It's just so great in terms of that supernatural demonic curse from hell aspect of what being a werewolf is. Also this idea that like, you get attacked by a werewolf, 4 weeks go by, the moon's full, you get a night where you kill people, then you get a second night where you turn into a werewolf again and you die. It's not a long thing that happens, being a werewolf. But, I would say like this isn't my favorite horror movie, but this is one of my favorite movies in terms of rewatchability. This movie has such a great blend of horror and comedy. Like it's not a horror. It's not a horror with comedy. It's like the horror and the comedy is like so divided well. And it's like that shitty show, Grey's Anatomy, where it's like goes from serious to funny, like on such a whim, but you don't get this tonal whiplash somehow. Also, yeah, the werewolf transformation, the soundtrack's great. I personally have a nostalgic reason to love this movie because my grandma gave it to me when I was like 5-6 years old on VHS. It was like the first time I saw titties in a movie. Yeah, and it's just I don't know. I mean, I would be fine putting in the B section, even though for me personally, it goes up there with The Thing and The Exorcist and The Shining. It's one of my favorites for sure.
I do love the idea that this is the Grey's Anatomy of horror.
Yeah. And as far as like the thing about what you're talking about, Gord, about like the nightmare with the Nazi werewolves, like I used to think that was a silly scene too, but the more I watch it, the more terrifying that stuff is. The idea that you have a dream, you think there are videos out there where cartel members like take some guy and make him watch them cut their whole family's head off. That shit happens. And the idea that you're having a nightmare where you're watching your whole family getting massacred in front of you, they're burning the house down and they're all laughing about it. And it's like demonic shrieking sounds. And then they cut your throat, I think it's so visceral and so hardcore and so quick. Like you don't get a time to absorb like just how heavy that scene is, and then you wake up and you get a laugh with like, oh my God, the fake nightmare, the double fake nightmare, I don't know, man. It's just, for me personally, it's probably my second or third favorite on this whole list.
Yeah, and nothing beats that transformation scene. Most most werewolf movies transformation scenes are compared to that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like even werewolves from last year, the transformation scene was compared to it. So
yeah, the transformation scene got a standing ovation, and also it's the reason why there's an Academy Award for Best Makeup. They created that award just for this movie.
Yeah.
This movie is also why werewolves are like one of my favorite monsters of all time. Probably over vampires, to be honest. It would probably go werewolves and vampires for me.
Yeah, I'm just glad he didn't imprint on any babies.
Right. Well, the thing about it, and no movies really get this done right, like American Werewolf in London, except The Wolfman, is like the tragedy of being a werewolf. Like what a tragic curse that is.
Yeah, to me, The Wolfman, I actually think The Wolfman is probably like the old Wolfman. I think is probably my favorite werewolf movie. Obviously, it doesn't have anywhere near the effects wizardry as this one. Like that. Like the wolf transformation in this movie alone makes it at the very least the most memorable werewolf movie of all time. But yeah, like the Wolfman, I find to be a really good movie because it's sad. It's actually a really sad movie.
Being a werewolf is being condemned to a life that is going to be short and terrible and filled with, death and tragedy. It's
the closest a man can come to having a period.
Also, it's like, if we talk about Cronenberg later on this list, but like, werewolves are like the ultimate body horror, your body doing something you don't want it to,
Oh, no.
I actually don't like body horror, which is surprising because I do love The Fly. And that is the only, I like The Substance last year, but I'm usually very against body horror. It's not my favorite genre, but there are, when the story is so good, it kind of makes up for it. But
yeah.
All right. We're going to move on to the next movie. Poltergeist, released June 4th, 1982. A family home is invaded by spirits that abduct their daughter, forcing them to seek paranormal help. Directed by Toby Hooper. Special effects artist Craig Ridarn, sorry if I'm saying this right. Real skeletons were actually used in the pool scene, causing unease among the cast. Rumors persist that Steven Spielberg, the producer, heavily influenced the directing of this movie. I love this movie. Again, it's a nostalgia movie. I saw this probably way too young than I should have seen. The clown scene with the toy clown terrifies me to this day. I fucking hate toys and shit like that, like dolls, all that kind of stuff. The pool scene as well. And I love that this is just a suburban family kind of just thrown into this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like curse on the family. It's just they moved into the wrong house pretty much.
Yeah.
That's it. So I opened it to the pool.
Yeah, the tree really freaked me out as a kid, and same with
Same
chicken,
here.
right? The cold chicken scene, the mirror. But this movie we were talking about earlier about like The Descent and Event Horizon. Like, I'm not going to be on a spaceship. I'm not going to be in the cave. I'm not going to be on a haunted castle. But Poltergeist is scary because it's just a normal looking house. You're going to go see this movie in the theaters, and you come home. And you're going to go to a house that looks like the movie, the house in the movie.
This made Enzo think I'm never having a blonde child.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think I could. My fucking genes are so dominant, But yeah, I would say, I would objectively have to put it in the B tier just because it's just a fun, like, this is a great one of those, like we're talking about gateway movies for kids, and you got Beetlejuice and some of these. This one's more on the scarier end of those like gateway movies, but still like, show this to your 10 to 12-year-old who's like got a liking to these horror movies. I think they could be ready for this one,
I was going to make that same point. I actually think there's an argument this is the best like gateway horror movie for young people, because it's not, it has, probably by today's standards, we'd rate it PG-13, but it doesn't overdo anything like in terms of language or like sexuality or something like that. It more or less is in keeping with its rating, so it's more or less fine for probably about age 10 and up. But it's genuinely scary.
Yeah,
and it's a really good way to introduce a young person to horror movies, I think.
And it's like Don Bluth said, like, you can scare the shit out of kids as long as you give them a happy ending. And this movie does have a happy ending. It's got that sentimental vibe that Steven Spielberg just like oozes all over the movie. But yeah, I would still have to put it in the B section, the high B section.
This movie, similar to The Exorcist, had a lot of set curses to it. A lot of bad things happened to a lot of the cast, especially the lead little girl. One of the actresses, I believe, was murdered. The older sister.
By her boyfriend a few years after this movie came out.
This movie, and then the psychic too. There's a lot of tragedy around her story as well. I think there's a documentary out about it, or it's either I saw it as a documentary or one of those like, let's talk about a horror movie each episode season kind of thing, held by Eli Roth. So there's a lot of tragedy around this movie. Go ahead,
yeah, no, I'm just gonna say I want to put this in the A tier because like I have that like this fond like childhood nostalgia for it.
Same.
But it is kind of like cheesy on rewatch. It's not really scary. I can't remember who said it, but this is like the movie that you show a kid to introduce them to the genre. There's just enough creep factor for an adult to get scared, like on first watch. But there's a lot for kids to kind of like sink their fangs into. I will say the stairway scene where they see like the lion poltergeist ghost thing come out towards the end, that still scares me quite a bit. I like the effects in here too, and like all of the family members have a very precise role. They interact with each other wonderfully. Like there's this really nice foundational message of the importance of having like strong relationships and knowing your community and whatnot. So, but it's not scary anymore. So I'm gonna have to say it's maybe at the top of the Nadia watches movies list.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's about where
I can agree with that.
Yeah,
I can agree with that. All right. Next movie. I always say this. I love this fucking movie, but I can never say the title right. Suspiria. Thank you. Sorry, the wine's getting to my head. So this is one of my favorite female witch horror movie. Surprisingly,
female witch is redundant.
February 1st, 1977. It's an Italian movie. An American dancer uncovers a coven of witches at a German ballet academy amid a bizarre and deadly events. Director Dario Argentino, special effects
Dario Argento.
Thank you. Fucking this wine, man.
Just wear your glasses if you have trouble reading the streams. It's okay.
Context.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The film's vivid colors were achieved by using outdated Technicolor processes. It was inspired by the 19th century essay about witches academies. One of the main reasons I love this movie is the color palette for this. How bright and contrast it is. So again, it's always an A tier for me, but I open it up to the floor. I'm gonna pour myself more wine.
Wonderful soundtrack by Goblin, wonderful cinematography, wonderful set designs. But yeah, you got to put this in the C tier because it's just weird. It's fucking weird. And also the remake is better. I hate to say that, but the remake is pretty awesome. I thought the remake surprised the shit out of me. And I would still put the remake in the B tier, you know what I mean? as you know, as an Italian, you know, it pains to say that the Italian horror movies, knockoffs, and experimental Dario Argento movies are they're pretty weird. They're not for everybody by any means. They are for like the really, you know, obscure cult classic chasing horror buffs. So yeah, because of that, objectively, I just had to put it in the C tier because like I could not just show this movie to anybody and expect them to love it, you know. But it's a wild, trippy movie. And, you know, I like it. Like I said, I like every movie on this list.
So I'll go ahead and put this out of the way. So I was going to watch this last night when I got home from work. I was going to rent it off of Amazon. You can't rent it off of Amazon right now. So I didn't get to watch it, unfortunately.
It's okay. It's all right. Bex, have you seen it?
Yes, I have. I have seen this yesterday, not yesterday, the day before yesterday. I rewatched this for the first time since like high school. I liked it in high school. I still like it now. I'd have to agree with Enzo. This movie is for like weird horror people, and it's like it's layered with a lot of like subtext and subliminal messaging. So like at face value, it like for a normie audience, the story might be hard to follow.
Yes, I can agree to that. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're looking for it and you're kind of primed for this kind of stuff, then it is like it's really engrossing and it's quite beautiful to watch, especially all the color work. But it's just I think it's a little bit too. I was actually surprised this was on the list. I even messaged Gord about this. I was like, of all the movies on this list, this is the one I'm because it there's nothing else on this list that is weird. That's why like this kind of weird. So that's why it kind of shocked me a little bit, but I'd like to say from like an artsy perspective it's in the A tier, but let's be honest, it's not, it's weird, so I'm okay with C. I'm okay with C.
Okay,
we can put it at the top of the C tier.
Yeah, top of the C tier is good.
So what the actual fuck Nadia?
Yeah,
because it actually was a what the actual fuck Nadia for Vex. So
that's true. I did actually say that. Yeah, that's true. So it's fitting.
So there you go. All right. Moving on. And I think this one will be short because we can all agree this will be A tier.
Oh God!
So, I saw Alien for the first time last year. There's actually a video, like a recorded watched live party of me watching both Alien and Aliens. I'm surprised it took me 29 plus certain numbers years to watch this fucking movie. This movie is objectively, I think, one of the most perfect movies put together by story, pacing, by color palette. I was just immersed so much into it. So it was released May 25th, 1979. A spaceship crew encounters a deadly alien organism that hunts, I almost said orgasm, them after hatching from the egg. Director Ridley Scott, which surprised me because I think this is honestly probably my favorite Ridley Scott movie. Special effects makeup artist Carlo Rambeldi, creature effects. So chestburster scene was filmed in one take with the actors unaware of the full effects. H.R. Geiger's xenomorph design was initially deemed too disturbing for the audience. This movie's fucking awesome, man. I can't like
this is an easy
this isn't
top tier. Even if it
Yeah.
is only the second best movie in its franchise, it's one of the greatest horror movies ever made. It's dang near perfect. It's great character work, great creature design, the dialogue's fantastic, the sets are fantastic. I mean, so much about this movie is good that even like some of the elements that are technically dated, you can completely just look past. You can basically kind of look at the movie the way like if there's, I know a lot of people like Blade Runner 2049 is kind of divisive, but one of the things I like about that movie is it keeps the analog technology. So to me, it's like you can kind of just look at this movie as it's like, well, this is just a universe where analog technology continued, and I think that's totally fine. Yeah, this is a fantastic movie, one of the greatest horror movies of all time, easily.
Even the trailer. So I did a trailer reaction to this too, and I love the fact that the trailer gives pretty much nothing away, but is still creepy on its own.
Mm-hmm. Didn't I watch you watch this movie for the first time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we did.
last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
Live. Yeah. But I think nobody Vex any argument on it being top tier.
No, none at all. This has been an all-time favorite movie for me for a very long time. It's influential in so many ways. It's probably, I think this is a perfect script on top of it. It's a shame that Ridley Scott has really done nothing that matches this ever
Yeah.
since.
I mean, I think Blade Runner matches it, but
still need to watch Blade Runner. I still haven't seen it.
Oh yeah,
so.
Blade Runner's trippy, man. It's a dope. It's a real good movie. But
Gord, was it the thing that you said that you on a second watch you were liked it more?
blown away. I mean, I've said that about a few movies, but the thing is, that's the one I said on this stream. Yeah, Blade Runner is another example of that, by the way.
I saw Blade Runner once. I was sick. The end of last year. Did not like it, but I think I should give it another shot.
Yeah, I genuinely disliked Blade Runner the first time I watched it.
Yeah,
and okay, so the first time I watched it though, I did watch the original version with the narration. The second time I watched the final cut and appreciated it significantly more. And then the third time I saw it was on an IMAX screen with 2049. I watched them back to back. And I have probably watched Blade Runner about 50 times since then. That was in 2017. It's become probably my second favorite movie of all time. I adore Blade Runner.
The newer one, the sequel to it, but I have the Blu-ray that has the both of them on it. So I'll have to.
I can't promise what I have no idea. It's like how you'll feel about 2049. We'll see. It's polarizing. A lot of people genuinely dislike it, and I kind of get why. I personally really like it, but it is a very slow burn, lengthy movie. It's beautiful to look at, though.
You know what's great about Alien though is you kind of compare it to Predator. Obviously, Predator and Alien are like, they go like peas and carrots. But both of those movies, Predator and Alien, if I were to just explain the movie to you like beat by beat, you would think, okay, this is a pretty razor thin movie. But because it's got such great crew behind it, the script is so tight, the actors, all the characters are well developed. The set design and all the production design is amazing. This movie's just way better than it sounds like if I were to explain it to you. Alien, the xenomorph is one of the coolest movie creatures ever conceived. And also just like the final scene of Alien really does. It was kind of experimental in the idea of like really pushing the limits on like, because you're getting like smoke, you're getting loud noises, you're getting flashing lights, you're getting all this like unfamiliar alien like set design. So it really is firing on all cylinders to like disorientate and like make you panic and freak out. And it really does a really masterful job of just being like way better than it has any right to be.
It makes me want to play Alien Isolation. I have it. I just haven't played it yet.
Oh, yeah. That's
terrified too.
Thing I've ever done is play Alien Isolation. Yeah.
Honestly, like some of the best movies are simple. I mean, when I was on Niat's stream last week and we were talking RoboCop, and it came up several times that RoboCop's a very simple film plot wise, but it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. A lot of the best movies have very simple plots.
Yeah, and there's a H.R. Geiger who's a genius, and this idea of like turning like the idea of like a man being SA'd and impregnated against his will, is like some primal fear that like a lot of people didn't even realize they had until until this movie became a thing,
Melee K of Melee Games gifted
Melee
5 horror with Melee. Fucking A this wine. Melee, thank you so much, Melee, for gifting 5 Horror with Nads memberships. You rock. And since we are talking about aliens, I will play a clip from the third best alien.
How dare you?
Still a wild take. I get it, but it's still a wild take.
Still a flatly wrong.
I like Alien 3, so
stand by it. I love the fact that I was on Niet for Alien Romulus, and the whole time everybody was like, "This fucking movie."
I don't even think it is standing by you there.
I was like, I still like this movie.
It's fine if you like Romulus, but it's not close. It's not close.
I also bought these. I don't know if I should do these. These are these Harry Potter Bernie Bott's beans.
Oh, the Bernie Bott's flavored beans.
Do they make
those?
Make lion noises?
Yeah. Some of them taste horrible.
Earwax, earthworm, dirt.
Yummy.
Booger. I don't know if I should open these.
Booger, my brother's favorite.
Probably not on this stream. I'd save that for a different one.
Yeah.
No, do one. No, I want to. What are you talking about, Gordon? I want to see Nadia try dirt.
Next super chat, I'll try one. Doesn't matter what the amount is. I'll try one. All right, moving on. Where was I? Fuck, I'm lost. Hold on.
The list is right.
First of all, I know the list is right there, but my clips are in a certain order, and I have to fucking find them. All right,
put them in the right order. Then come on,
they are in the right order, but I have to scroll down. Possession, 1981, released May 27th, 1981, France. A crumbling marriage descends into madness as a woman's strange behavior is revealed to be reveals a grotesque entity. Director, I'm not even gonna fucking try. Special effects artist Carlo Rambaldi. Isabella's subway scene took 2 weeks to film due to the intensity. The film was banned in the UK as a video nasty. Whatever the fuck that is. So I saw this for the first time last year. I saw it as a double feature. I did this movie and then I did First Omen. And when I walked away from this movie, I actually didn't know if I liked this movie, but it stayed with me for weeks. I was thinking about it, realizing the dialogue, and I don't know who've seen it, but the dialogue is very particular, right? It throws off. Maybe it's because of the time, or because it's a French movie. But
I think it's
very weird.
I think it's intentionally performative.
Yeah, the Polish filmmaking. It's like very exaggerated acting, and very. This is one of the earliest like art house horror movies I loved as growing up.
Yeah.
I love this movie. I think I think First Omen took a lot of influences from this movie. A very young Sam Neill in this movie. I think it goes really weird because you think it's just a weird crumbling relationship, maybe a possession movie, but then it turns into this kind of like demonic alien entity that's possessing her.
Tentacle hentai
In it too. So I actually recommend this movie a lot. To people who haven't seen it. So
this is the ultimate breakup movie. And the thing is, and I'm being serious because the first time I watched this is back in when I first got out of high school, moved to Austin, and we were doing the Netflix thing where we'd get Netflix movies and rip them on the computer and burn them on discs. And this is one of those movies I ripped it, never watched it, send it back, and then I watched it later, and it's like it's so wild, it's so crazy. But the more you watch it, especially when you go through like long-term relationships, like how much this movie is trying to say. And what's interesting is I tried to watch this recently again, and I've seen it a bunch of times, but I was going to watch it again. And the only version I could find on the pirate sites was like the version with the director commentary, which I was like, all right, fuck it. And it was crazy how spelled out it all was. But like, the idea that because I mean, you could argue this movie maybe goes in the C tier with Suspiria because it's so weird, but
it is weird.
You can't argue that this, unlike Suspiria, this movie does like unsettle you. It makes you feel weird and uncomfortable, and it frightens you, and it's disturbing, and it's intentionally very volatile and it's freaky. But metaphorically, this movie is just about when lovers move on, like the idea that you maybe might the idea that you're going to cheat on your husband with someone who's so radically different, but then you're going to settle for somebody who's pretty much the exact same, very similar to your ex. The idea that you're trying to find something, the idea that like the doppelganger, there's two doppelgangers, it's about mirrors and doubles and all that, but the idea that like the female doppelganger is both doppelgangers are very opposite. Like the female, she's attentive, she's a nurturer, she's very motherly, all this stuff. But like also when Sam Neill is like breaking up with her, like he's like bedridden, he's sick, to his stomach. That's the kind of stuff that happens when you go through these turmoil. A lot of these breakup movies are these like soft, sappy, female centric, kind of the Notebooks and those have you movies. But this is what it feels like to go through this kind of relationship turmoil, this movie. And it's like it's dark and it's hardcore, and also the fact that it takes place in Berlin. The wall is very metaphorical in this movie. And yeah, like I said, this Polish director, we got two blacklisted. You got a blacklisted director and a blacklisted actress, and they came out on top, making this very, very bold, experimental
Very
movie.
bold. They're
Yeah.
remaking it with Robert Pattinson. So
Ew, maybe.
Oh.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I don't know if he's starring in it or if he's just a producer to it, but it has been circling around in news, and I covered it a couple weeks back that they are looking to remake this. I don't know if he's going to star in it, but
well, he tends to
be honest,
garbage.
He's weird enough for it. He's weird enough
good
for
movies.
it. I think.
Well, here would be. Well, Vex, have you seen this?
No, I didn't get a chance to watch this
Okay.
one.
Okay, I wasn't sure because I know you didn't bring it up, and I figure whether you loved it or hated it, I would have assumed if you watched it, you would have brought it up. But okay, so I did watch this. I watched this a few days ago. I think if they're going to remake it, I would I obviously they're not going to listen to me. I'm nobody, but if I were advising in any way on this movie, I would advise to move away from the more esoteric approach that the movie takes, because I honestly, objectively, I don't know if I would consider this a good or a bad movie. There's almost an equal number of things about it I admire that I kind of loathe also. Like there's things about this movie I genuinely do not like, and there's things about it I really do like.
It's a tough
I agree with Enzo that there's a lot about it that's very memorable. I very much admire the commitment to its style, but I came away from it thinking, because I don't think the subtext is all that difficult to grasp. I think one of the more interesting ideas it has is kind of this idea of this couple replacing each other with more idealistic versions of what they want.
Right.
I think that's actually very interesting, but I think that it's overly I think it's strange almost to its own detriment. When I think about movies that are done in this odd artsy way that are great, like Mulholland Drive. I think that's an example of a movie that is very odd but does it amazingly well. I think Akira Kurosawa's Dreams, I think it's a movie that does that amazingly well. I think that's a highly underrated movie. This one, I think it has really interesting ideas, and I think it's almost needlessly strange at times. I think if it had been a little bit more straightforward, I think it would have worked a little bit better. But there's a lot about it I like. There's some of it that I think stands out in kind of a negative contrast. I think her German lover is an awful character. I don't like the way he acts. I don't like the way he's written. I think he's clownish, and it's like anytime he's on screen, it kind of it takes me out of the overall vibe. I'm just like, what is this? It's like he almost seems like he's out of a comedy, and not in a good way. It's like he really clashes against the movie's overall feel. And part of what's interesting is so the scene that you played the clip of and the one that they're showing here on this image, in isolation is a really effective scene, but at the same time, it's like watching it with the rest of the movie, I was kind of just ready for it to be over with, because I was like, she's acted this way for the majority of the movie, so this isn't exactly shocking to me watching her do this. This is just kind of in line with everything else she's done, which is kind of where I was like, if this had been a little bit more straightforward and then you get a scene like that from her, it's like it probably would have been far more unsettling to me. So yeah, it's like I don't necessarily think it's a bad movie, but I don't necessarily think it's a good movie either. So it's
I would agree. It probably should go into the S tier, the C tier, because it is a weird movie. I wouldn't probably recommend it for a normie, in a sense, somebody who just
it's like I have a hard time saying it's a movie I like, in a way, like if somebody really loves movies, I would recommend they watch it. Because I think, figuring out if you're one of those people who loves esoteric artsy movies, hates them, or it's just kind of like me, who's kind of in the middle, you can love them or hate them. I think this is a good movie to kind of test that against. But it's one of those movies that I recommend that I would say, I don't know if you're going to like it or not. I have no idea. And there are movies like that are worth recommending.
And again, I walked away from that movie at first probably not liking it, leaning more towards not liking it, but it stuck with me for weeks afterwards.
It's very memorable.
I had to call one of my friends who have seen it, and he was like, yeah, I told you, this movie is just going to be in your head for a while. You're not going to realize you like it or not for weeks on end until you kind of process it. So, it's but I agree. It probably is what the fuck, what the actual fuck, Nadia.
Totally. I mean, it's definitely what the fuck.
Yeah, what the fuck. All right, next.
Oh.
That's disgusting.
Golden Corral's new slogan.
The Fly, released August 15th, 1986, a scientific teleportation experiment fuses him with a fly, leading to a horrific transformation, directed by David Cronenberg. Special effects artist Chris Wallace. Jeff Goldblum spent up to 5 hours daily in makeup for the later transformation stages. Mel Brooks, a producer, kept his involvement secret to avoid comedy expectations. I am not a big body horror person. I actually hate pustule kind of body horror. That's why I kind of stay away from Cronenberg, to be honest. But to me, at the end of this is a love story for a perspective. There's great pacing in this. The special effects is fantastic in it. And I think Jeff Goldblum is a perfect casting for this. So I open it to the floor.
Yeah, and Gina Davis and Jeff Goldblum, they were hooking up on set, and that's why they got this real chemistry going on. And again, kind of like American Werewolf in London, it's such a tragic story. It's so horrifying because, the best tragic movies, they're popping champagne at the beginning of the movie. I created a teleporter, and it's like, hooray. And just like this one little misstep causes such a horrific nightmare. And, this idea, everyone fears of getting cancer or some kind of illness where your body parts just start falling apart. You're dying, it's this intrinsic fear that everyone has, and the Fly really, really gets to that, really taps into that primal fear. And there's a specific moment at the end, when he's completely changed into the final form and Gina Davis is trapped in the telepod and she lets out the most blood curdling, my God, no, what has my life become, where I have this thing monster trying to, turn me into a, I don't want to get into the details, but all the stuff about the fears of schmortion, abortion and what have you. And all the stuff about, Jeff Goldblum just being this kind of drunk on power at first and suddenly coming to the realization that things are not good. Be afraid, be very afraid. It's just there's something going on where this movie is probably one of my favorites on the list, easily, just because like I said, it just taps into something so primal about just dying in general, in a really terrible, painful way to die. But also all the insect politics stuff is just fantastic as well. All that stuff.
I actually really like the original movie with Vincent Price. And that originally was going to be on this list, but realizing that we will be talking about Vincent Price on the next tier list, I kept it off of it. I only put one of his movies on this list, but I actually really, really love the original, especially the last scene where it zooms in and it's the fly. Help me, help me. Yeah, that terrified me as a kid.
But
go ahead.
Just the Thing, this is a great example of the remake being way better because the Thing in the Fly, it's they got a head swap going on. But this one, he doesn't even realize what's happening, where he's been genetically fused to become this different DNA creature. It's really freaky.
Go ahead, Vex.
No, I've got nothing to add. I would say that this should go this is probably one of the best. No, this is the best body horror. Invasion of the Body Snatchers exists though.
No, this is better than Body Snatchers.
Yeah,
I love the hard ending.
I would say this is slightly better than that, though. Both of them are really, really good. I would say Invasion of the Body Snatchers is scarier though.
I don't know, man.
I enjoy this movie a lot. This is a lot of fun. I haven't seen the Vincent Price one actually, so now I'm kind of excited for that watch.
Same.
On the next tier stream, but this one I would put in the top tier. I would put this after The Shining probably.
Yeah, dude, the ending where Gina Davis is crying and blows his head off, and then credits. There's no epilogue.
The fact that Cronenberg wrote a body horror movie like this, because I'm also A tier for this. I think this is an excellent film, and I'm not a big Cronenberg fan. He's got maybe 3 movies I've seen of his that I actually like. This is probably my second favorite of that lot. The fact that you can actually feel genuinely sad for such a monstrosity as the Brundlefly at the end. He just looks hideous and just awful. Like him grabbing the shotgun barrel and putting it to his head, just basically gesturing "kill me." I was like, gosh, I'm actually like getting a little choked up watching this. I was like, wow, that last bit of humanity in me is just like, just end it, please. I was like, gosh, that's really effective and interesting. It's The Fly is an excellent movie.
What makes it so tragic is he was a nice guy who just got motion sickness and ended up trying to invent like something that would have changed the world for the better. But we realized like how terrible, how we mess with science and we overlook things, and a little fly on the telepod can just be disastrous side effects.
By the way, if you want to see an excellent spoof of The Fly, Invader Zim did an episode where Dib, the kind of second main character of it, accidentally got himself fused with bologna and turns into a giant bologna sausage.
I remember that one as a kid.
I love Invader Zim. That is a really funny episode.
Also The Simpsons. That was like more parroting the Vincent Price version, but yeah, The Simpsons when they get the telepods.
I'm excited for you guys to watch the Vincent Price version because I've rewatched that a couple of times. It's one of my favorite movies growing up. Again, the only reason it's not on this list. I love both of the versions. They're both very different. And the only reason is I knew that we were going to be doing Vincent Price next tier stream. So it's the only reason why he's not on the list. But yeah. All right, moving on.
Don't you want a balloon?
All right, I know. It's 1990, release date November 18th, 1990. It's a TV miniseries. Childhood friends reunite to fight Pennywise, a shape-shifting entity preying on their town's kids. Director Tommy Lee Wallace, special effects artist Bart Mixon. Tim Curry's Pennywise laugh was improvised on set. The miniseries was originally planned as an 8-hour epic. The reason why this is on the list is, one, I love the book. I do enjoy the book. Two, this is nostalgia for me. I was genuinely terrified of this movie as a kid. I saw this way too young. My 16-year-old cousin had me and my sister sit down and watch this. And after that, the three of us for weeks afterwards would not like shower without somebody in the room. Like we would keep looking down at the drain and to see if Pennywise was gonna like pop out. Like this terrified me of clowns. I think Tim Curry is actually a better Pennywise than Bill Skarsgård, even though I do love Bill Skarsgård's It. So
he's definitely better, I think.
Totally.
Yeah, okay, so I remember this miniseries airing when I was a kid. My poor brother was mortified by this movie. Made him scared to go to the bathroom for a little while. Tim Curry's excellent as Pennywise, like genuinely excellent. And that's maybe the only thing about this movie that holds up at all, because the rest of it is kind of like, I used to be of the mind that the first part was solid and the second part sucked. I've kind of always thought the second part of this movie sucked with the adults.
Yeah.
Watching it, I mean, it's been a little while since I've watched it, but recent enough to where watching it again, I was like, no, the first part kind of sucks too. It's not a good movie at all. Again, Curry's great. I would also say the music is good in this, like the kind of the creepy horror carnival type music they play whenever Pennywise is around is actually really effective. But I don't think it's well acted. I think the storytelling is really bad. Some of the dialogue is just outright cringe. Like the child actors, I think, are solid in their roles. I think that's the most engrossing part of the story, because you're probably a little bit more willing to forgive a story like this when it's involving kids. But yeah, I don't think this movie works at all. I think it's aged terribly, especially now that I'm able to spot plot issues and plot holes and whatnot. But it's like, yeah, this isn't good at all. It's really not. It's like I hate to say it, it's like a 3 out of 10 movie at best.
Funny you would say that originally you thought the adults, because that's the same feedback we get with the newer movies, right? Part 1 and part 2. That part one,
part one of the remake actually I would say is good.
Yeah.
And part 2,
not a lot of people didn't. Yeah,
and part 2 is really bad.
Yeah, the second
part two almost
really
feels
off.
like it spends a lot of its runtime almost apologizing for its weirdness. Like, I actually think it's interesting because I watched Dr. Sleep and It Part 2 kind of close together. And one of the things I liked about Dr. Sleep is that it was kind of unapologetic about its stranger elements. It just kind of embraced them. Whereas I felt like It Chapter 2 was constantly trying to tell bad jokes, almost like to undercut the strangeness so you wouldn't think about it too much. And I'm like, just embrace it. It's fine. With this a weird movie, that's okay. But and also it takes like an hour for the movie to actually end. You feel like you're getting near the end, and holy crap, It Chapter 2 being 3 hours is one of the stupidest decisions any
And they didn't even
horror producer ever made.
It's not even paced well according to the book. Like, to me, It Chapter 2, they rushed the third act of it. Like, I feel they could have moved the first 2 acts a little bit faster and then expanded a little bit more on the third act with the final battle against Pennywise. I think that was just thrown in there too fast. You don't really, there's no emotional attachment, especially as characters die. Like, you just don't care. You're like, just get this fucking
it's
movie
really
over
just a
with
lot
at
of
that point.
stuff is happening and you're just like,
Yeah.
I don't care about this, just end already.
Go ahead, Bex.
I have nothing to add. I didn't get a chance to rewatch this, and the last time I watched it was in high school, which was almost 20 years ago for me now. So
Me too.
Yeah, I remember I like this version of It the Clown better than Bill Skarsgård, as much as I love Bill Skarsgård as an actor. But this will always be Pennywise for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bill.
Back then she was Vex Oil Lampica.
Well, because I think Bill Skarsgård leans a little bit too much into the alien like the really uncanny valley of it, where Tim Curry looks like an actual creepy clown, like a creepy dude that could be like
and I feel like they relied a little too much on special effects with Skarsgård. There's almost not enough performance from him. A lot of his they try to use special effects a lot to enhance the scares, and I'm like, those are the worst parts of it.
Totally, absolutely.
Overdone.
Specifically, there's the part in the first movie where they're watching the creepy stuff on the projector, and that's really freaky. And then the projector should just turn off, and that would be scary. But instead, like, a giant clown comes out of the wall. It's like, all right, this is stupid. This is
I think
stupid.
that's just one of those, like, it's horror for the modern age kind of thing.
Exactly.
Like, it's almost unavoidable for filmmaking in this kind of era. So I can let it slide because I do think his performance is still very good. I actually think it's the best thing about the newer It films. I don't really care for them otherwise, but I like this one. I remember this being like campy in the best kind of way possible. And what's his Tim Curry.
Tim Curry.
Bex, you're Sri Lankan. You're supposed to know your curries.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got it mixed up. Thank you.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I would say that this is better than the remake by far. Even though the remake has way better visuals and all that stuff and production value, this movie is, it's definitely like, I'm not afraid of clowns. I never have been. It's just like little haunted kids and dolls. Like, I'm not scared of that shit.
Me neither.
If you're afraid of clowns, then this movie probably freaks you out. But the problem with both versions of it is, like, the second half is just, the first half is so far superior, and then the second half happens and you're like, okay, this is just stupid and weird. And I gotta put it in the C tier, just because it's just like I said, it's not scary because I'm not afraid of clowns, and also it's just Stephen King high on cocaine, just getting weird with it, and also the omitted gangbang scene that we'll never see. Thank God.
We'll never see that. You'll never see that.
Thank God.
I'll never read the book because of that scene exists. I'm like, why did this?
That scene exists for like 2 pages, to be honest. The book is honestly worth reading, and the book creeped me out. Like, I was actually reading the book and then listening to an audio. So I would listen to audio and then go to the page to read it back and forth. And it got so creepy to me that I had to put the book down and like walk away for a couple of days.
I did that with Blood Meridian. I was reading Blood Meridian
I have
before bed, and I was having really fucked up nightmares, which I normally don't have nightmares.
I haven't read it yet. I have a copy of it. I just haven't read it yet.
It's
hardcore. My gosh.
But
it's funny. Blood Meridian starts off, you're like, okay, this just feels like a Western, a dark Western, but a Western. And then once it gets rolling, you're like, it's just the violence is often sudden, and I wouldn't necessarily say without meaning. It's like things just happen that are really, really, really freaking violent.
Yeah,
it's
Has
pretty
it ever
haunting.
been adapted into a movie?
No,
it's trying to.
Studios are trying to adapt it, but it's difficult to adapt something that hardcore. Like, have you read The Road? Have you read The Road?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
I know you haven't. So okay, so there's The Road's movie is a pretty solid adaptation, but there is a part of the book that is extremely memorable that they had to leave out there. I was just like, there's no way they're going to put this in the movie.
Right.
I knew going in, there's no way they'll put this in the movie, and they didn't. Blood Meridian is filled with that kind of stuff.
Right.
It literally has one of the most well thought out, terrifying, despicable villains ever put to literature.
Yeah.
And
I'm reading,
like if they do make it, cast Vincent D'Onofrio. He looks the part. I think he can act the part. He would be perfect, I think.
I gotta find my copy now. I have it somewhere, and I'm gonna read it now after
it's
Clown in the
read it during the day.
It's not an. I would say it's not an easy read. If you haven't read Cormac McCarthy before, it's a little hard to get used to his style. But
okay, I bet it's not as bad. There's an author that I read. It's a fantasy book about like redemption, and it's a weird. Anyway, it's very hard to read.
If you have a hard time following it, reading it by page, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I can have a little bit of troubles keeping my attention with a book that's hard to read like that. The audiobook is on YouTube.
Yeah, it is. It's
about 11. I think it's like 15 hours total, but it's
I'll read it.
But I would have to put it behind Event Horizon. I'm sorry. I would have to.
Oh yeah, I would. I mean, I haven't seen Suspiria. It's definitely behind the movies I've seen on that bottom tier. It's the weakest of that group.
Shit, man, I have to read Clown in the Cornfield. Once I'm done with that, I'll read Blood Meridian. That'll up it a little bit. So, all right. Next, I love books that fuck me up, man. I fucking love books that fuck me up. I read some really shitty shit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next movie.
Holy shit.
Sinister, released October 12, 2012. A writer finds a disturbing home movies that plunge his family into a supernatural nightmare. Directed by Scott Derrickson, special effects by Samantha M. Baker. The film's snuff films were inspired by real found footage aesthetic. Ethan Hawke took the role to work with Derrickson after a chance meeting, which means just like they met on chance. Now, I
know that.
Well, some people don't know that term. It's like I gotta explain it, right? Fuck. I love this movie. This is the movie that put Scott Derrickson on the map for me, and it's why I've been so disappointed in Scott Derrickson since.
No.
Because I'll give Doctor Strange a pass because he had the studio and that stuff. But fuck, The Gorge was awful. Black Phone was okay. Like
Emily Rose is good. Emily Rose
is good, but I can see what he can do, and I have not seen it since. And I'm like, fuck, man, like do a good horror movie, like amp it up. I've seen what you can do with Sinister. It's a disturbing movie about a family that just like randomly moves into a house and they're fucked. They're just fucked.
Well,
like, the fear
not randomly.
So,
not
randomly,
randomly,
but you know what I mean.
I know, but they don't know all the implications of what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No,
we're just starting.
Okay. Oh,
the sequel is the sequel's meh, but
it's not okay. It's terrible.
Yeah, but I know what Scott Derrickson can do with horror, and that's what I want to see. I'm like, give me another good horror movie, man. The Gorge was fucking awful. Like you could have done an amazing Lovecraftian horror. So I
said The Gorge would have been a fun video game, but not a movie.
Agreed.
But I open it to the panel. Hi Gooch, thank you.
You know, this movie had a really scary trailer, and I remember seeing it alone in the theater and being pretty disappointed with the movie. And it's just a silly horror movie. But I gotta say, even rewatching it again recently for this stream, knowing it's a stupid movie and knowing what's happening, it still manages to kind of give you the heebie-jeebies.
It creeps you out.
Still manages to do a few jump scares on me, even though I know it's coming. So I would put it in the C tier, but it's still just like Event Horizon. Like I gotta give it like credit for actually being kind of legit, like getting under my skin. Not nearly. I mean, for some reason, Event Horizon just has always freaked me out. But like this movie, like I said, this is cheap scares, jump scares, and freaky music, but it still does the job. It's a great date night horror flick. It's stupid, but predictable, and I don't know. There's still something there, and also Ethan Hawke. This kind of started his whole trend of like getting more involved in these darker horror movies. It was weird seeing him in this movie when it came out, but now it's like kind of on brand with him.
Oh, with the black phone too, especially now.
Yeah, and we talked about his vampire movie and what else he's done. He's done some good ones.
But yeah,
the vampire movie's not good.
I just want a studio to give Derrickson something to just let the man work. Let the man fucking work.
Let him cook. Let him cook.
Let him cook.
I love the Red Letter Media review of this where they make fun of the Bagul and Vincent D'Onofrio's Bagul. Yeah, whatever. It's great.
Damn, he don't miss.
Hi, Nick. Thank you for the birthday wishes. But yeah, I know. ABF, my guy. Thank you so much. He actually gave me one of the best birthday cards when I saw him in Arizona. It was a Trump card. It made me fucking laugh. So ABF, you're a sweetheart. Thank you so much. For you. Let's see. Hold on. You know what? I'll give you this. I think that's appropriate, right? I think that works.
I would say so. Yes, I would say so. Hopefully, you like feet, ABF,
or Selma Hayek.
Hilak,
wine man.
Hilak.
I think Hilak's that maneuver you do when someone's choking.
Fex, I'll need you to create me a ABF clip. We'll talk. Something horror related.
Oh, okay. Something horror related.
Yeah,
ABF finger,
like idle hands or something.
Like something.
There's one that I would like to make that I'm surprised no one has, but I just haven't done it because I don't,
What is
but it's not really horror related. Okay,
we'll talk. We'll figure it out. But thank you, ABF. You're so sweet. Thank you. All right. Continue.
I would actually put this in the middle tier because, granted, I've only seen it once. I think this is a good movie. I think its plot held together pretty well. I really appreciated that it was kind of a minimalist approach where I don't feel like it overdid too many things. I mean, if there's maybe one scene that might have overdone it a little bit was the scene with all the kids. But even that one, I was like, it's not necessarily like a plot issue or anything. Because I mean, honestly, I thought what was kind of interesting about that scene is, you watch it the first time, you're thinking that they're these are victims, and this is almost, maybe you almost wonder, are they trying to help him in some way? And then when you learn the truth, and you're like, oh, that's actually really bad. I think there's some really good stuff here. Probably could have been better than it was, but I overall was very pleasantly surprised by this because I remember when it came out.
Hey, Nadia's got hits.
Yeah, I remember with the reception it got and thought this was probably just another run-of-the-mill, by the numbers kind of horror movie that I probably would be very meh on. But this was the most recent one I watched. It was about 2 days ago. I enjoyed it. I actually thought this was pretty solid. I liked it.
So just on the Gorge thing, so Derrickson wrote and directed this Sinister movie. He's credited as a writer for Sinister 2, but for the Gorge, he's just the director.
Just the director, I know.
So maybe if he had a hand in the script,
is the Sinister.
Oh yeah. I really like this movie, though. By the way, it's a very simple idea. It's an idea that's been done quite a bit too, especially in like horror mystery literature. But it manages to like still get you with like the predictable scares and everything. I thought the creature design was insanely creepy as well, and the fact that it takes a lot of advantage of the setting to make the creature pop instead of just throwing it in your face like they tend to do.
Like Insidious and Conjuring.
Exactly, right? So you really you do get the feeling of something genuinely sinister building up. I like that the movie just went fuck them kids as well with all of them basically. You don't get a lot of like mainstream horror spell because this is mainstream horror, right? You don't get a lot of films like that that kind of just throw caution to all of the wind. There's usually some sort of like, even the Insidious films, there's still like a safety net that it kind of falls into. I like this movie. I think it holds up on rewatch as well. Even like I still get kind of shook by some of the scares in all honesty.
Same.
So,
I do too.
Yeah.
This
it's
is solid.
Like, again, just give the man some room to cook, man. Let him write something. Like, I know he has a little bit of a hand in Black Phone, but that's actually a Joe Hill story, and they are doing a prequel to it, which I think makes no sense. Like, to be honest, I don't think prequels to movies like that matter, because at the end, Gord left. You know what
Gord.
it is. By Gord. I don't
Something
know,
sinister got him.
So to have cats. Door. Did I hear a cat on the stream or outside door? I don't know. Oh, all right.
It's me. Did I
No,
hear
that's my cat. That's my cat right now. Yeah.
I was like, either that or Yellowman fighting outside with someone.
So I don't think this is in the realm of The Thing, Alien, The Shining, and stuff. But I don't think it's a what the actual fuck. I think it's Nadia watches movies, and I think it's actually the top.
Yeah, and like I said, I rewatched it, just kind of not liking the movie, and it still freaked me out, So I got to give it bonus points for that. Sinister. So I'd be fine with it being in the second column.
This movie is a recommendation I give to anybody, and they always come back and like, man, I was really creeped out by that movie. Even Jake in the comments I saw, he had to end it halfway through. He was like, I had to step away. Nice. This is the only horror movie I've ever seen that I needed to turn off partway through. So
that's pretty crazy, actually, man.
All right, moving on. Fuck, what's the next one?
Climax. Okay. I had to stop the climax and be like, this is a hardcore. Hang on, let me breathe for a minute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
You need laxatives to stay skinny. I am going to eat your soul.
I know this is a weird one to have on my top 26 list. I know this, but
no,
I actually fucking
I get why it's here.
It's Jennifer's Body, September 18th, 2009 release date. A cheerleader turns succubus, feeds on a classmate. Why can't I fucking read? Opens by her best friend. Director Karen Kusama. Oh my god. I'm never
Kusama.
Thank you. Bill it looks like tzatziki, but it's not. The film's title reference. Thank you. The film's title references the whole song by Courtney Love. Megan Fox ate raw liver for the scene to avoid CGI.
Yummy.
For one of the scenes in it.
Let's be honest. She's eaten a lot of stuff in her spare time. Raw liver ain't the worst of it.
That's true. Go ahead.
I mean, it can't be that bad for you, But Jennifer's Body. This is the second time I watched this since it came out in theaters, and I remember it was like a huge classic like sophomore syndrome where Diablo Cody did Juno and everyone loved it, and then this came out and everyone was like, "Ew." I was kind of one of those, but rewatching it, it's like, no, this movie is legit funny. And even though it's it's kind of goofy, it's got this great sex appeal to it, which I always appreciate. And there was definitely it's got this, it's not American Werewolf in London where it balances out the comedy and horror really well, but there's just some funny ass lines, like the whole, do you have a tampon? She's got a hole in her stomach. And she's like, oh, I thought you might be plugging, it's just very Diablo Cody, very Diablo Cody-isms, throughout this movie. And, it's a fun little, not a vampire movie, but like a demonic kind of vampire-like creature. And I don't know. It's just, I think I liked it a lot more watching it for the second time. So, I mean, I would put it in the B tier. Like I said, I did not like this movie the first time I watched it, but comparing it to some of the other Diablo Cody movies in recent years, especially the Powerpuff thing that we just were
in recent years, she had a great movie come out last year.
Yeah, and I did like the Charlize Theron one, Young Adult. That one's really, really good. But I mean, this is a fun movie, and it was hot. Watching Amanda Seyfried and Megan Fox, worth the price of admission alone.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah, I was wondering. I was waiting for you to say it, and so I knew it was gonna come from you. Bex, Gord.
Let me chew this. Sorry, I got yogurt when I went to pee as well.
Okay, it's fine.
You go ahead first, Gord.
I have never seen Jennifer's Body, but only because she has curtains.
What?
I have not seen this movie, so I have no idea how good or bad it is. I would say this part of the reason I was never motivated to see it. I think Megan Fox looks extremely plastic, so I've never, other than in the first Transformers movie, I've never found her particularly attractive. I think she's an extremely off-putting individual.
I would kind of agree with her aesthetic in that regard, in all honesty, Gord. There's something really uncanny valley about her, and
she's too hot. She's too hot. It's weird.
I mean, but honest, I don't find her. It's weird because, like, you know, I generally speaking think like dark hair is very attractive. But it's just something about her face. It's just she looks very plastic to me. And like I said, I think as a human being, she's always been very strange, and she's gotten progressively worse. So it's like, she's just one of those people. I'm like, something about her weirds me out.
It reminds me of
that might enhance this movie for all.
It reminds me of like Interview with the Vampire. Like when you become a vampire, you become extra sexy, like hypnotizingly so. That's what Megan Fox has going on with her. To where like if you ever saw her in person, especially in the early days when she was like legit like a natural bona fide babe, it's just you wouldn't even know how to, she's like a fucking alien. She's so hot, you know?
Like vampire Kristen Stewart, that like was actually really attractive, despite the fact that her upper lip apparently had a restraining order against it from its lower lip.
Well, Amanda Seyfried's way hotter. She's got them she's got that kind of almost more natural look. She's less bizarre looking, even though she's got this kind of like anime illustration kind of look to her, but I don't know.
Plus, I've always had a fondness for her, just for her little ditzy role in Mean Girls.
Yeah.
I'm sick.
Yeah.
Ooh, you whore.
I can tell when it's raining.
I forgot I was supposed to take one of these with the next super chat, so I'm gonna grab one.
Okay.
Oh yeah. What are you gonna choose? What flavor?
This one either.
They don't tell you. That's the fun.
Should you
They tell you on the side, but hold on. Oh, the cat. Hold on, cat.
Don't all the colors have like alternatives? Like if you get a certain color, it can be really good or really bad.
So this can either be candy floss, I think.
Cotton candy.
No, candy floss. It's called.
That's the same thing, though, right?
Vomit.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. Go ahead. Yes, you've been drinking too, so this might be great.
Candy floss.
Boo. Okay. Yay.
All right.
I don't mean yay. I
don't like this movie at all. I've seen it only once. Maybe I need to watch it again because Enzo, you just said that you didn't like it the first time either.
It made me laugh.
I understand the appeal, and I got what it was trying to do. I understand the satire of it. I get what the overall message is and the themes it's trying to explore. I don't like Diablo Cody though. I think that's the thing. I've never been hardcore, like with the exception of Lisa Frankenstein. I've never liked any of her movies. Like I'm just not there. Yeah, see, I don't get it. It's just you're fake. You're a fake horror girl. Okay, it's okay. But
I'd still put Jennifer's body in the C tier.
You know what? I was with you with Lisa Frankenstein. I was like, okay, I fucking get why people like this movie. And then when she fucking went and got the guy's dick off the dead guy for him to use, I was like,
funny.
what the fuck?
Was
this is
funny
early
as crap.
2000s fucking crappy comedy. I'm out. Sorry.
I thought that was
why it's
really
great.
freaking funny. I thought that was really freaking funny.
But
I was surprised. I ain't gonna lie. I was surprised how much I liked Lisa Frankenstein. But I was like, yeah, I actually really like that movie.
I just came up with a new band name that's pretty dope. Grave Throbber. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, where's Jennifer Body going on this list? We're already
I
at 2
think
hours and 30 minutes.
this would have to go at the top of the actual fuck Nadia, because it's also not scary. This movie is more of a comedy than a horror movie, if we're gonna be honest.
All right. I'll let it go because I know the next one. I wish Leon was here but here we go. All right, hold on. I gotta, like, everything's in order. Hold on. There we go. I fucking love this movie. Fuck you, Vex. Dr. Sleep released November 8th, 2019. Danny Torrance protects a girl with shine, which if you don't know, in Stephen King universe, the shine is like their abilities, whether it's
the shining.
It's their like, I don't want to say magical abilities because everybody has a different ability with it, but it's like telekinesis, like that stuff. Like Carrie has shine, Danny has shine. Like there's a bunch of them in there. Anyway, from a cult that feeds on psychic children, which, by the way, one of the most gruesome death scenes for a kid, I think, in this movie. Directed by Mike Flanagan, special effects by Robert Kurtzman again. Stephen King approved the changes to align with Kubrick's The Shining. Ewan, God damn it, Ewan. Thank you. Visited AA meetings to prepare for his role.
Why are you thanking her? She mispronounced it.
EB1. EB1 McGregor.
No more wine for me. No more wine for me.
Obi-Wan McGregor.
I love this movie. I've rewatched it quite a few times. I'm a King head. I think this movie combines the Kubrick film and the book Dr. Sleep very well to continue the series in a media form, like a movie form. I think the casting's perfect. I fucking love Rebecca Ferguson as Rose the Hat. I think she's one of the best villains. And again, one of the most like over the top death scenes for a kid. The baseball kid being like basically like his soul or energy or shine being sucked out of him and being torn apart by like this ravaged group of like cult hippies. So I open the floor, and I will say this is not the movie I'm going to use my birthday wish on. But
well, there's an old question, what movie villain would you do it with? And I always say Rose the Hat for sure.
100%.
Rose the Hat is so hot.
Yes, she is the hottest horror movie villain ever.
Female, anyway. I mean,
objectively,
women have different answers. But here's the thing: this was also just like Jennifer's Body. The second time I ever saw it, rewatching it for the stream, and yeah, I definitely liked it more the second time. I would still, it's not as good as The Shining. I don't think it's as good as The Shining. I know it is still. I did enjoy it the first time I watched it. I enjoyed it more the second time, mostly for like. We're talking about how filmmaking should be a meritocracy. And when you have the best of the best involved, you can really do these very impressive movies. And this movie is so, like I said, it's simultaneously a sequel to the movie and the book at the same time. And that's like a big juggling act it has to do. But, as a horror movie, it's pretty good. But as an X-Men movie, it's the best. It's the best X-Men movie we've ever seen. This movie's cool. It's more cool than it is like scary, but like it's cool because of all the superhero powers and also just like I said, just all these nods, like recreating the sets and recreating the shots, and also
I feel
the
attacked by that
actresses.
comment.
There's the chick from Starry Eyes who plays Shelley Duvall, and she does a great job like channeling Shirley Pop Olive Oil. What's her name? Come on.
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall. Thank you.
You just said it.
Yeah. I said Shirley. But there's also what's her name? She was in House of the Devil. She plays the girl's mom. She's also Babe Alert. But I think this movie, it's got this it's I don't know. It's very effective. It's very effective. And also it has these nods and, Pizzagate and adrenochrome and all that stuff, kind of hinting at that stuff going on behind the scenes. I always enjoy that when Hollywood kind of self-aware with itself. I would have to put it, I would put it in the B tier, but I wouldn't be upset if it made it in the A tier.
Facts.
Hold on, can I see the list again?
Yeah.
the tier list. Yeah, I said Event Horizon was the second worst movie on this list. This is the worst movie on this list.
Okay.
I fell asleep 3 separate times trying to watch this movie a few weeks ago. It was broad daylight 2 of those times, and then one of those times was bedtime. This was just I know it's hard to capture the magic of the first Shining movie, and I know that I haven't read the Dr. Sleep novel, so but I from my understanding, this was a lot closer to the source material, and
Yes.
Stephen King had a bit of the hand in the production as well. I just found this, like, the kid scene, first of all, like, fuck them kids. Holy shit. That was intense. Didn't expect that out of a 2010s horror movie out of Hollywood. I like some of the general ideas. It was just really
bland. Like, I can't think of a better word than I was just really bored, and I wanted more to happen and more to get exciting, and I just felt like I was watching a bunch of oh my god. Sorry, cat. I was watching a bunch of tropes.
I think this was made for fans of both The Shining and the books. I think that's what it was made for. I don't think this was made, and if you're, and I know how much you love Mike Flanagan, but on rewatching it, I feel like if you don't know the source material, like if you don't know the book and haven't both books, both The Shining and Doctor Sleep, and have seen Kubrick's Shining, I feel like it doesn't impact you as much, maybe. Just my opinion. But
it is a lot of member berries and fan service for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to that. Like, there is genuine value in doing that, but it's like you can make two things true. You can make something that honors the source material and the fans, and you can make something that also a general audience would like. Because I remember when this came out, and there were a lot of people that had never seen The Shining before they saw Doctor Sleep. Right. Yeah. So it's like, this is also this is The Shining for a brand new generation of film goers. So I was just overall disappointed. I know that you like Mike Flanagan. I just feel like he's a basic bitch. That's all. Like, everything I watch, I'm like, I like the idea. I like the premise, but it's just like cheese on crackers, man. There's no spice. There's no flavor. Like, it's just Gordon Ramsay holding two pieces of bread.
It's white people horror. It's white people horror. No spice.
Yeah, and I was commenting how the two ladies did a great job channeling previous roles, whereas Henry Thomas from E.T. it's jarring that he's the new Jack Nicholson. You're like, I don't like that at all. It's pretty weird.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, putting aside this movie creating an inert desire to have the shine so Rebecca Ferguson would see me as a snack. I have like no familiarity with the book, the book Dr. Sleep, and very vague recollection of the first book. Obviously, I know the movie really, really well. I was very impressed with this movie. I do think it has. I think it's overlong. It has pacing problems. I definitely think it has pacing problems. So I would not consider it a great movie, but I've watched it a few times now. I think it's very good overall. I think it's a solid 7 out of 10 type movie that I have a really good time watching. Doesn't do everything great. Does some things quite well. I would say the ending, if it had stuck the landing better, it might start to teeter closer to great. I think the ending's just kind of like, okay, it's whatever. But most of what it does, I very much liked, and I didn't expect that out of this movie. The only reason I saw this movie is because I had the Regal Pass and was able to watch as many movies as I want. I really just kind of saw this on a whim, and I was like, okay, let's see if this is any good. And I was like, oh wow, I actually had a really good time with it. It was a very very pleasant surprise that year. But yeah, Dr. Sleep I think's pretty solid. I think it belongs in the middle tier.
Bex, is this a question about Dr. Sleep?
It's a question for Gord specifically. Okay. You said that you've watched this movie a few times, and I just noticed the inflection ticked up around certain words. What was it that you enjoyed so much about this movie, Gord? Was it one person in particular?
It wasn't just one person, but it's not really just an appearances thing or anything. But I find Rose the Hat to be a really interesting villain. I find her to be a very, granted, you could argue that the movie, takes a bit of a dip as far as the interest goes when she's not on screen. Because I think she is a genuinely captivating villain.
Great.
I find the movie very. I think the movie's
there you
go. I do like Ewan McGregor, his portrayal of Danny Torrance a lot. I actually really liked what they did with his character. And I'll tell you one of the things, and this is a small thing, this isn't really all that effective to the movie's quality, but one of my favorite things this movie did just as a small touch was it cast lookalikes for the parents instead of trying to just insert Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall's face, which I really hate when movies do that these days. I think it's weird and cringe. Yeah, it's kind of like if you watch Rogue One and you see them CGI like what's
Peter
his face? I'm blank. Peter, the actor's face on Tarkin, instead of just using the lookalike
Peter Cushing,
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing is fried right.
Instead of just using the guy who was there to be the body double, because it just so happened that he actually looked very much like Peter Cushing. You could have just done that. I like the fact that Jack and his wife were cast with lookalikes instead. I really appreciated that. I was like, thank you. That's okay to do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
Honestly,
overall, I think this is a strong movie. Huh?
Yeah.
They could have casted his son if he was old enough at that time. Because I saw him recently in Smile, and he looks pretty close to his dad. He's in that.
He does. Yeah.
Borderland. Yeah.
But
I put it mid tier.
Shining sequel, it's all right, but as an X-Men movie, it's really up there.
Shut the fuck up.
Well, no, he's not. There's something to that. There is something to that.
It feels more like a superhero movie than a we're gonna go fight we're gonna go fight energy vampires.
Let's be real. If we actually put this in the X-Men universe, it's probably one of the 2 or 3 best ones.
Yeah. You just need Nick Fury showing up,
That movie should be lower on the Nadia watches movies thing. Like I would put Scream ahead of Dr. Sleep.
Definitely below American Werewolf in London. I love that movie. I mean,
right here,
I'd put it below.
I mean, I would put it ahead of Tucker and Dale, below Poltergeist.
There you go.
That works.
All right. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 movies left. We got
rock.
This. All right.
Is Nosferatu not on this list anymore?
No, because we did it for the vampire list.
Sure.
I wanted to do like a refresh.
It's okay.
New thing.
Why won't you let me goon, Nadia? Why can't I just goon on your channel?
No one's stopping you from gooning. You could be gooning this whole time off camera for all we know. We don't care.
Hold on.
I'm gooning.
You're telling me Warwick Davis's Leprechaun doesn't do it for you? Come on.
I ain't into midgets. 6 feet or higher.
6 feet or higher.
You're in the 666.
Dang it! Most of us only have 2 of them.
Yeah.
I thought I had the clip for you where his wang is out, but I guess I don't have it on this.
Why would you have that clip on YouTube?
She had it. Well, she did have it, but it was like,
I don't think I deleted it. I think it's on StreamYard's. Like, hold on. Can I switch over without? No, wait. Maybe it's over here. Hold on. It is. Did I? Oh no, here you go. Is that the term nowadays? The kids like gooning.
Wait, what is next? I can't even tell with the thumbnail. What is this? Is this a new one? I forgot.
Sonst schmeiß ich dich ins Feuer! Du dämliches Weibstück! Du willst mir tun! Ich werd's dir zeigen!
Nein! Child's Play released November 9th, 1988. A doll possessed by a serial killer soul unleashes murder to find a human host. Director Tom Holland. Special effects artist Kevin Yeager. Yeager? Yeah. Chucky was inspired by the real-life Robert the Doll, which that's a stream on its own. The animatronic Chucky was required up to 9 puppeteers. This is the movie why I fucking hate dolls. I will not have dolls in my house. I fucking hate dolls. This is actually a scary movie in the franchise. After this, it just gets bonkers.
Well, the second one's gory, and the third one is where they start getting more funny with it.
Yeah, and then you get like the Bride of Chucky, which I like, and then you get the Seed of Chucky, and now there's the Cult of Chucky, and then we had the TV series. And to be honest, watching this movie, I never saw Chucky as a LGBT like icon, I guess, but
which is a weird one. All the franchises to take that turn, this is a weird one.
Honestly, I wish I could say that that community taking on an icon of a kid boy was weird, but it isn't.
No, you're right.
But this scared me. I mean, the idea of your toy coming alive and killing, and then I think overall this is the best movie out of the whole entire franchise.
Oh yeah, and the thing about the franchise is pretty one of the most consistent out of all the horror franchises, because you usually get these big dips in quality in the sequels. But Child's Play is pretty, the dips and the ebbs and flows are pretty minimal, But Child's Play, the first one, is great because it's got that whole idea, like, is it the kid? Is the kid doing it, or is it the doll? Obviously it's not the doll. and that's the big twist is you find out it is the doll. And that's why it's kind of like the first Jurassic Park movie. Like once you see the dinosaurs, the sequels kind of have less of an effect. The first movie, the first movie with the first time, like, is it the doll? Once you find out it's a doll, like you can't really replicate that. But just a serial killer who's got a voodoo curse puts himself into a doll, and also realizing, like, kind of in the later viewings that it is technically a Christmas movie. That's also great. Yes. And great child acting. Usually child actors are not great. And I'm not saying he's Haley Joel Osment in The Sixth Sense, but he's not terrible, the little kid.
And he comes back, though, for future movies, too, as well. He's continuing the series. Also, it takes place in Chicago, too, as well, my hometown.
Great stuff. Yeah. I mean, I would say this is a high B for me. I love Child's Play. I like the first 3 movies a lot, and Bride of Chucky also. I mean, I like them all. But
Jennifer Tilly, my spirit animal.
Jennifer's Tilly's. Tilly's. They're my favorite Tillys.
They're my favorite Tillys too.
Bound. That's all I'll say. But yeah, I would put this in the high B for sure.
I'm gonna agree with Enzo. Like, I'm not a fan of Chucky. This is very much like a film of that time, simply because you couldn't do this idea now. Like, toys are not a thing for children anymore. I do agree this is the best out of the franchise. But the creepy doll thing has never been scary for me. I like the what's the word I'm like the novelty of this movie. I really enjoy the novelty of this movie more than anything. But I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it. Like, every year when we go to Halloween Haunt and there's a Chucky house, I'm just like, oh, dolls. Yeah. It's not very scary.
It's the same thing with
except when you get the midgets that come out and just, I don't know if midgets is appropriate. Small person dressed up as Chucky.
No midgets. There were no midgets at the Orlando one.
Yeah. Devil people.
But yeah, with like dolls and little kids, it's like just drop kick that fucker, and there you go. I mean, how hard could that be?
Like, and with the show, I think Chucky was a house this past year or the year before, but they just had black girls in Chucky outfits everywhere. I'm like, oh, that's not very scary either. Like, they weren't trying to rob me or anything.
Wasn't there the story of the woman who like used her own menstrual blood for her costume and she was in a Chucky costume?
There was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
I smell pennies.
So I'll put this. Yeah, I put this. Wait, what else is in the B tier? Hold on.
Sinister, Scream, American Werewolf in London, Poltergeist, Dr. Sleep, and Tucker.
No, but like in the order. I want to see the order of them.
That was the order.
Yeah. That was the order.
You know what? I would put this before. I would put this before Scream and after Sinister. I think this is a solid movie.
Okay. Gord?
Back end of the second tier for me. It's fine. I like it. Nothing special, not remotely scary. I look at it almost more like a horror comedy than anything else. But it's a very enjoyable one. I've never found any of these movies remotely scary, but I've never I've only seen 3 of them, but I don't dislike any of them. I think they're all fun, and that's it. It's like none of them, kind of like what Beck said, I'd never go really out of my way to watch them. It's kind of why I would put it below some of these movies. Some of these movies I will sometimes go back to willingly because I just feel like watching them again. Child's Play is more something that if I come across it or someone's like saying, hey, we're gonna, do you mind watching this? We're gonna talk about it. It's like, okay, I'd watch it for that reason. I probably would never like set aside time specifically to watch a Child's Play movie. But they're a good time. They're definitely a good time. It's an iconic franchise for a reason, is because even though none of them are really great, they're more or less well handled, and the people behind them seem to genuinely care about the franchise. So yeah, back into the B tier for me. That's where I'd put it.
Okay. Well, I put it on the front because I fucking love it, and I'm a birthday girl. So thank you for the birthday wish.
Wait, hold on. So our opinions don't even matter when you can just put it wherever you want?
I put it on the B tier, and you said it was between Sinister and Scream, and Gord said it's the end of the tier.
I would put it after American Werewolf in London before Poltergeist.
All right. There we go.
But no, I mean, no,
There,
you
right in
can
the middle.
veto. You can veto.
Oh, no. I'm saving my veto. Maybe it's for the next one. We'll see.
I don't. What movie would it be?
put
Uplifting
Leprechaun in
Ghosts?
the A tier.
You ready?
A delightful little slut. But what about your butt?
Fuck you all. I fucking love this movie. It is the best one.
No
out
one
of the
said anything
entire
bad.
franchise.
It is easily the best Leprechaun movie. Easily.
Direct to video, June 27th, 1995. Leprechaun 3 goes to Vegas, causing deadly chaos. Director Brian Trentard Smith, special effects artist Gabe Bartalos. It's the highest grossing direct to video entry in the series. Warwick Davis
That's a very specific bit of trivia.
What happened
it's
was
the highest grossing direct to video entry in its own series.
Well, the second one came out in theaters and it didn't do well. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to put the third one out on video. And it did really well, like better than the second one. They're like, damn, we should have maybe put that out in theaters. Because, something about the Leprechaun in Vegas is just, it just works. It works really well.
It does. Like, the first movie is a little bit more horror. And again, this franchise suffers the same, not suffers, but does the same thing like Chucky, where it just, each entry just gets a little bit more comedic as it goes. So it's more horror comedy. Like you get Leprechaun Goes to the Hood. There's a ton of like, and this is another one. This is, I think, more horror comedy in my opinion. And just, I don't know, maybe I have a fear of like short little things, but the first one did terrify me. I just love this entry. But before we get into it, how the hell did American Werewolf in London not make it to the actual?
I was outvoted.
Yeah. So with the tiers, if you're late to the party, let me pull this back up. The tiers are actually good, which means the movie's 10 out of 10, right? 9 out of 10. Nadia Watch Movies is the mid tier. Like they're pretty good movies, like overall, objectively. And then what the actual fuck, Nadia? Like, how is this on the list kind of deal? So
honestly, Goodwin.
Praising, yes,
you could argue that the second tier is where we're putting the good movie, what we consider the good movies, in the top tiers where we're putting what we think are the great movies.
I think all
That's
the
kind of what it's
become. Top tier, baby.
But yeah, I mean, this movie has a soft spot in my heart because it's one of the first we watches I did. And also it's just there's something I've learned watching, because like usually movies franchises, they get Godfather syndrome where part 3 sucks unless it's a horror movie, because I've said this before, like Jason, Freddy Krueger, the Leprechaun, Chucky, Hellraiser, like it's like the character of the villain doesn't really get their stride. Terrifier, I brought this up for Terrifier, like it's only until the third movie that we really get a grasp on like who this villain is. And Leprechaun 3, I think Warwick Davis said is his favorite too, because it's the first time where we really start to lean into the comedic aspects of like the silly leprechaun, and how funny that could be. The same thing with Jason, he gets his hockey mask in part 3. Nightmare on Elm Street, we start killing people based on like their fears. Just like they really you start to get into the stride by part 3. Whereas like most movies, the third one is where it's like taking a nosedive, but horror movies, the part 3 is like where we're kind of just getting started, so I don't know. I love this. And also, the girl who's in this, she's in like one other movie, nothing else. She's not a great actress, but man, she's so babylicious.
She is pretty babylicious, yes, agreed.
She's definitely not act-delicious.
The floor is open.
Okay, so I have no frame of reference with the previous or later Leprechaun movies. The first one I ever watched. I honestly, this is just one of those movies where I was like, look, is this a good movie? No, but it's in that so bad it's good kind of category where it was still very enjoyable, and it was very self-aware. It knew exactly what it was doing. It doesn't necessarily make all of it work. Like some of the bits that are meant to be funny, like not all the jokes land. But I was like, you know what? For such a silly movie, I had a pretty okay time with it. Would even be willing to watch it again. So it's hard to rate a movie like this on any like objective scale. So, but I would say as far as these tiers go, I'd put it in the middle.
Wow. See, I'd put it in the C tier.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm like, it's hard for me to assess a movie's quality when it's this goofy, but also simultaneously self-aware. It knows exactly what it's doing.
Yes.
Like, I don't think they wanted good actors and actresses. I mean, it's unlike another movie on this list, which you could argue is made with a very similar intent. I think this actually does that thing a little bit better. That shtick is done a lot better in this one than that one, which we'll get to, I think, at the end.
I love how he gets turned into a leprechaun by like the werewolf bite, and then he goes to the ER, and the doctor's trying to operate on him, and he's like sticking his tongue out, like, you're blind me with corned beef and potatoes or whatever he's saying. It's so bizarre. I love it.
Bex?
This is the first Leprechaun movie I've ever watched. I'm aware of the franchise, and I know that it has like a lot of just kind of like it's that B, C tier horror that's like Gord said, it's so bad it's good kind of deal. So for the entertainment value, very high. I liked a lot of the Leprechaun's one-liners, and I liked how over the top and sometimes cheesy it got. I like that, it kind of foretells a lot of things about society in some ways, the Kim Kardashian effect, so to speak. Objectively, as a movie, though, I'd have to say this is in the C tier. It's not very scary. It's incredibly
not at all
cheesy and
scary.
corny.
No.
It's not a well-written movie in a lot of regards. The dialogue is pretty poor outside of the Leprechaun. It's not an objectively good movie, but there's a lot of entertainment value. So I'd put it like above Jennifer's Body.
Wow.
In all honesty,
I'll say like probably the funniest thing. And this is probably where it's like, if you were to even analyze the plot even though it's self-aware, it's like if you're still looking at the story it's telling, it's where it really falls apart. Is they're kind of cutting back and forth between the two leads and then the leprechaun in the shop with the dude. If you consider how long their trip is together, he's in that shop with that guy, not killing him for a really long time.
That is something we talk about on the
How is
We
this
Watch.
encounter going on? It's like it's really dragging that out because it's like, well, we got to tell you what's going on with this, and I'm like, you can still go ahead and tell us what happens here. Yeah, it's really silly because like that is one thing I know. So I was watching, I was like, wouldn't he have had to have been in the shop with this guy for like hours, and they still haven't had like not one of them has died yet? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, I love, there was a man from Matras whose balls were made out of fine brass. In stormy weather, they clanged together, and sparks flew out of his ass. It's a great one. But you know what's a good one that I always loved was, there once was a woman from Peru who filled her vagina with glue. She smiled with a grin. They'll pay to get in, but they'll pay to get out of it too.
All right, moving on. I put it on the top of what the actual fuck.
Hell yeah.
Because I think objectively it's what the actual fuck.
There's a lot of entertainment value. Regardless of
rewatchability
and everything.
It's an enjoyable bad movie.
I'm gonna reuse this clip all the time.
A delightful little slut. But what about your butt?
All the time.
It's like one of the best death scenes ever. Is that lady getting blown up with her titties and ass? It's amazing.
And
it's basically a preview of The Substance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next movie.
Hey, asshole.
The Frighteners, directed by Peter Jackson, released July 19th, 1996. A con man who sees ghosts teams up with him to stop a soul harvesting entity. Michael J. Fox took this role as his last major film before his Parkinson's disease diagnosis. Rick Baker is the special effects artist. He was a consultant on it, and the film pioneered CGI ghost effects by Weta Digital.
Weta, yeah.
Weta.
I remember they made a big deal. They made a big deal about Ghosts with Patrick Swayze when that came out because it's like, hey, we're not doing, guys with sheets over them anymore. It's computer animation. And then this movie was like, hold my beer. Because the Frighteners, first of all, like the idea that this was supposed to be the third Tales from the Crypt movie, I think it would have been held in much more higher regard if that was the case. But Robert Zemeckis, who was the producer, was like, I think it'll do well as a standalone. And here's the thing, it still would have been a standalone movie if it was a Tales from the Crypt movie. But I just think, I think that was a misstep not making this because it really fits the vibe, and I think it would have been a
Yes.
great successor to Bordello of Blood, which was not as good as Demon Knight. But dude, yeah, you've got like amazing. This was one of the first time where, like, Peter Jackson, it's this great in between state between when he was doing like the schlocky Bad Taste and Dead Alive and all those movies, and then he did the Lord of the Rings. This is like a great like in betweeners, even though he did Heavenly Creatures before this.
Not a lot of people know. Not a lot of people know this is a Peter Jackson movie.
Right. And it's not. And the thing is, when you watch Meet the Feebles, and I tell you this is a Peter Jackson movie, you're like, I don't believe you. But when you watch this and I tell you this is a Peter Jackson movie, you're like, I see the influence. I see like the Lord of the Rings, what they took from this movie with like the Grim Reaper shape and like how the ghosts all look, compared to the Army of the Dead in Lord of the Rings. But like specifically like at the third act of this movie, when you got Ghost, Michael J. Fox wrestling, the Grim Reaper, and they're like in hell and heaven, you're like, this is like, I can't believe that this movie got greenlit. Like, it's so ambitious, very ambitious movie, and they pulled it off. And it's a very soft R rating. I think it deserves the R rating, but still, like, it's not too scary. It's not too violent, but it's just really fun. And it's got that great Halloween vibe. It's not too scary, but it's it's a great like.
It's a good introduction movie. I think, again, another good introduction movie for kids nowadays, if you want to introduce them into the horror things. One of the creepiest scenes to me is when they're coming through the wall, the carpet wall, and the scene that stayed with me as a kid.
The original poster of the movie with like the skull with the white screen and the green letters. But here's the other thing: I watched this movie again for this, and I watched it online, and there's the director's cut, which I'd never seen, and the director's cut is way better because there's little like 30-second scenes that have been cut, but they all add. I feel like they're all cut just for time, and like when you put them back in, they add a lot of subtext. They add a lot of backstory. They add a lot of motivation. So I definitely recommend watching the 2-hour director's cut as opposed to like the hour and 40-something minute theatrical cut, which I have on DVD and I've seen it 100 times. But watching the director's cut recently, it was like, this is actually an upgrade. A lot of times the director's cut is a downgrade. You're like, I can see why these scenes were deleted. This is not one of those movies.
Bex, Gord?
Didn't get a chance to watch this one.
Okay. Gord, too, as well?
Didn't see it.
It's a spooky,
highly recommended.
Good time. Spooky, kooky, good time. I'd put it in the A tier.
That's where it's
just
going.
because of like
they haven't seen it, so they can't argue.
But also, here's the thing: it's Peter Jackson because it's like it's really elevated schlock, but it's so well done. And also, the guy from Reanimator, he's fantastic in this, and Jake Busey, and you've got D. Wallace Stone, and obviously it's filmed in New Zealand. It's got that Peter Jackson vibe. It's got the Peter Jackson car that's in all the movies. Frank Bannister's car that he drives around. Arlie Ermey, as you've got Sean Astin's father, John Astin. He's in it. It's fantastic.
I highly recommend it. If either of you haven't seen it, I think you guys would enjoy it. Both of you.
Oh, I definitely want to check it out.
All right, next movie.
Oh, no!
Oh shit! I didn't. Hold on. The Mist. Released November 21st, 2007. A mist with the deadly creatures trap townsfolk in a supermarket testing their humanity. Director Frank
Darabont.
Darabont. Thank you. I knew I was saying it wrong. That's why I stopped. Special effects artist Greg Nicotero. The ending was darker than Stephen King's novella, which King praised. The filming used real supermarkets scheduled for demolish. The reason why this is on this list, to me, this is all right, I'm going to put my little tinfoil hat on. To me, this is kind of almost like a realistic kind of end of days apocalyptic thing that could potentially happen to humanity. Like, we experiment just too far gone, and we kind of open the gates of hell. And I love the fact that there is the theology, okay, I fucking give up. I love the fact that in the actual supermarket, it's not the fact that they're fighting creatures outside, but there's like the religious cult happening,
A
what people would
microcosm
do
of
in
society.
what people would do in dire situations like this. Is this how humanity would act at the end of the world? Like, would we turn on each other like this? That's why I really love this movie.
So
Go ahead.
I like the concepts in this movie. I think the execution is not very good. And I'm going to be honest, I think the ending sucks. I think it is completely unearned, and I don't think it really fits thematically all that well. I don't think they do the legwork to make it fit thematically, and the military showing up like about a minute or so later is, I think, like really, really contrived. I didn't like that. I don't think this is necessarily a bad movie overall. I do like the creature design. Like you said, I do like the concept. Some of the performances are really good, but I think the dialogue is awful in a lot of scenes. I think, while I like the idea of the whole cult thing, I don't think they do anywhere near enough to justify how so many people come to believe that woman. It really just ends up coming off as another example of King hates Christianity, whereas they could have done something significantly more interesting with it. I think this is one of the most wildly overrated horror movies of the last 20 years. I think this is an aggressively mediocre movie.
You're definitely not gonna like the show then either.
I would put this in the third tier. I don't think it's very good.
May I?
Yes.
You may.
May I? Okay. I like The Mist. It's enjoyable for what it is. I did disagree with Gord when he said this, and I was like, the ending is just funny. It's not sad, it's not dark, it's not creepy. It's just funny because you're right, they don't do the legwork to really set up that payoff. And it also just leads you in a very different direction. I agree with, this is another movie where King kind of hates religion. And there are side characters that are also like of a Christian faith, but he doesn't take advantage of trying to use them as a balancing force. I think the reactions of all the characters, yes, they're fucking stupid, but I think it makes sense. Like, these are all pretty like isolated, somewhat ignorant people to just like the way the world and life is in their own little remote setting. So it's believable to me that they just kind of like, out of pure fear and just like shock of what they're seeing, they believe everything this crazy fanatic was saying. I like the general concept too. We push things a little bit too far. Yes, Kylo. He's tapping my shoulder. He's telling me to stop. It's I think the rewatch value goes down the drain after the first one because the shock of it kind of wears off. I do very much like the creature design. The shot towards the yes. What? He's just got his paw on my shoulder. He's like, oh, he wants pets. Okay. The creature, the giant creature that you see stomping towards the end before the whole car scene, I really like that shot. That's a pretty iconic shot for me.
Very cool.
With the
very cool part.
with the music. Yeah. So I like some of that atmospheric stuff, but it's an okay movie. I would put it at the end of the B tier.
Yeah, I'd agree with B tier because the movie is very ham-fisted, very on the nose with the messaging and social commentary. It is a freaky movie, and it's got that heart-wrenching ending. What I hate about the ending is how the tank is coming from the direction they were driving in. I think it would have been better if the tank was driving the other way. But what I do love about the ending, and I think the reason I think I'm in the boat that I think that the religious cult lady was correct. It is literally something biblical happening. And the fact is, she says, just like Abraham, Thomas Jane has to sacrifice his son to save them. And what happens? He ends up killing his son, and then the mist is over. All of a sudden, it's like it's all said.
I've heard that fan theory for it. I don't think that in narrative it really makes a lot of sense.
No,
I think it could have been an interesting way to look at the movie if the story had been told better. And I don't think they do nearly enough to make it seem like like what's happening make a lot of her claims believable. She's saying so many just wildly outlandish things that it takes just the loosest connective threads for anybody to come away from hearing her saying maybe she's on to something. I'm like, based on what? It's
Well,
you
got like literal monsters outside and people are losing their minds, that's why they're just
well, sure, but I mean, it's like she's not really saying anything really that connects all that much to it. She's just kind of repeating the same stuff. Or it's the end, it's the end, it's the end, and I'm like, she's not even really getting into scriptural stuff. Which, granted, I think that's probably why it would have been more interesting if you didn't try to make it like a Christian type cultist and everything. That's part of what I think it doesn't work that well. Yeah. I think if you almost made like what's happening, like maybe like she starts making predictions that there's a little bit more connected thread to it. They're not necessarily connected to anything religious. Like maybe she's simply that opportunistic that she starts to get a little high on her own supply and starts to see, a bit of a power game potential thing.
That
where
is
it's like
kind of what seems to be happening.
Yeah, it's like they semi allude to that, but she's a true believer in whatever it is she claims to believe, and it's a very loose version of Christianity that they're going for.
Yeah,
I feel like that could have been really, really good, and I don't think it's all that interesting. I'm just like this. Yeah, I thought the Mist could have been much better than it was. I didn't hate it, but I was supremely disappointed.
A big cringe factor for me is they use that music from the Baraka movie, like they're the Egyptian lady like moaning, that's like a very it's a little bit much at the end, yeah. But as far as like, just I remember watching that in the theater, and yeah, movie probably doesn't have the best rewatchability factor, but the first time you watch it, it is hardcore. That ending, you're like,
yes,
wow,
it's very intense. Yeah.
Can't believe they went there, and I'm glad
I do wonder what I would have thought of the ending if I hadn't already been aware of what happened, because I mean like even this was my first time watching it, but yeah, it's one of those endings that the people spoiled the crap out of, but so I was mostly just watching to see. It's like, okay, I'm aware of what happens at the end. How well does it fit everything? Because as it got close to the end, I was like, I'm not sure if thematically the ending I know is coming is really going to fit. And then when it happened, I was like, yeah, this ending kind of sucks. I didn't care for it. I really didn't care for it
as a TV show, but it got canceled. Second season was actually supposed to explore the origins of the Mist and focus on the military conspiracy. But it just never advanced after the first season. Yeah, like
it's better when it's left in the air. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to the next movie because
13 in.
That's the only clip I have. The reason I have this clip is actually for Goodwin.
You gotta say the title correctly.
Huh?
Play it one more time.
Okay, hold on. Just give it the middle finger.
You could honestly put like a picture of like Alec Baldwin's finger over that and make that his clip.
Oh,
honestly, it was a pain clipping that one because he slowly puts up his finger a couple times and there's cuts, so that's why I had to make it that short instead to stay within the YouTube guidelines.
But you gotta say the title right. It's 13 in Ghosts.
13 Ghosts, released October 26, 2001. Family inherits a glass house containing 12 vengeful ghosts controlled by an occult machinery. Side note, Netflix was supposed to, and I don't know if it's still in production, but there's actually supposed to be a 13 Ghost series happening where it's going to actually explore the backgrounds of each of the ghosts. So director Steve Beck, special effects artist Norman Anyway, whatever. Each ghost has detailed backstory, including on the DVD. The house set was built with real glass for the authenticity. So, this is a comfort movie for me. I just love this movie. Maybe more so because I like the designs of each of the ghosts. I mean, the story. I like the design of each of the ghosts. So this is a movie I put on when I'm sick. I don't think objectively it's scary, to be honest. It's again realms in more of a horror comedy as an adult, especially rewatching it. But I think it's a fun movie. But floor is open.
I looked up that Netflix if they're still doing it. It doesn't seem like there's been any updates since it was announced.
Okay. I would be
Yeah.
interested because the concept, because the movie was supposed to expand a little bit more into the background of each of the ghosts. They just cut it for time. I'm assuming so.
May
I
I?
didn't see this, by the way. I didn't see this.
Oh, okay. I'm not a fan of this movie whatsoever. I saw it when, like, in the early 2000s when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, like you, like I was just like, oh, the makeup effects are pretty cool, especially for that time, right? But I wasn't scared by it, and then I watched it again a couple years ago because this is a cult favorite movie now. I just don't see it. I think this is really stupid. Like everything about it is really fucking dumb. Like this is the bottom of the list objectively as a film.
I would agree. Bottom of the third tier. Towards
I'm using my birthday wish. Using my birthday wish. Here we go. Top of the list.
Okay.
Top
of the
ahead,
third
Enzo.
tier.
Top of the ski list? Or yeah.
You put it above. You put it above the thing.
No, the thing is, to me, I read
tier.
from left to right. Yeah, thing is 1, then Alien, Army of Darkness. I'm reading that way.
Okay.
So it is the bottom of the actual.
I mean, this movie's goofy as hell. Like, here's the thing: there was the House on Haunted Hill remake, which was like pretty fun, and then this one kind of came out after that, trying to like capture the lightning in a bottle, and it's very, very dumb, and just like convoluted and rushed. And just over the top. Oh, you put it at the bottom of the A tier. Okay.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I used my
right.
birthday.
I
knew.
I mean, a big misstep is Shannon Elizabeth not getting naked. A big misstep is also, this house design, as cool as it is, like conceptually, like logistically, it's like, what the hell am I looking at here? It's bizarre. It's just not a fun movie. It's just very kind of like Event Horizon. It's got this very short window, this ticking clock, but it's just, I don't know, dude. It's hokey. I would describe it as hokey. It's the only list on this movie that I would call hokey.
It's not the sequel to 12 Angry Men we expected.
No.
No, not at all.
All right. Moving on. We're almost there. We're almost to the end, guys. I appreciate you guys sticking out. All right, here we go. I know we're doing Vincent Price the next tier, but I had to put one of them on. So House of Haunted Hill, 1959, released February 17th, 1959. Millionaire offers $10,000, which that seems like a lot of money back then, to strangers to survive.
It's a lot of money now because of inflation.
Yeah.
I'd take it.
Director William Castle, special effects makeup artist Ben Lane. Vincent Price improvised much of his dialogue. Castle used plastic skeletons on wires in theaters as a gimmick. So I love this movie. That scene right there when I played that clip, that still gets under my skin. I don't think this movie has ever been remade properly to me. I think this is objectively to me, this is one of his best movies. But I open the floor. I mean, there's not
I quite enjoy this movie. It's kind of an example of like early, like old school, like B movie style filmmaking, but not in a bad way or anything. It's just it would kind of be like the second in a double feature. Like it would be paired up with something better. But it's actually really enjoyable. You can tell the actors are actually having a good bit of fun. It has some kind of creepy moments that hold up pretty well. Yeah, of course, like some of the effects and the skeleton stuff look silly and whatnot. But I think it's immersive enough to where you can kind of mentally push that aside. And yeah, I like House on Haunted Hill. I think it's actually a pretty fun movie. I think it's pretty fun. I'd put it in the second tier.
You can watch it on YouTube right now, the full movie as well. It's released. So, Bex, Enzo?
I quite enjoy this movie. This is one of the first Vincent Price movies I watched in high school because I went on a bit of a Vincent Price. What's the word I'm looking for?
Binge.
Thank you. Because I'd rewatched Edward Scissorhands, and that was his last movie before he passed. Right. I quite enjoy this movie as well. There's nothing B horror about it for me. In all honesty, I know that term was thrown out, but
It's creepy, it's fun, it's of its time. I think there's there's some genuine creeps there that maybe could have been done better with like now that we have the modern tech, but I think it still holds up. I did see the remake that they made with Jeffrey Rush in, what was it, 98 or 99? It wasn't a very good movie. No, I think this is one of Vincent Price's best movies. I would rank this as maybe top 5 or top 10 for him.
This and The Fly are my two favorite.
Didn't they have this and the Haunting come out like very close together? The remakes, I mean, of those two.
Not sure.
Yeah,
because the Haunting was the Haunting remake, the one with Catherine Zeta-Jones. That is horrendous.
Yes,
oh yeah,
that's
Owen Wilson has one of the
Owen Wilson
scenes ever
with his head.
Yeah.
This movie is great to watch, by the way, in a very dark room, just your TV, because it is black and white. It just immerses you better into it. But go ahead.
That is how I watched this movie the first time.
I actually, funny enough, I've only watched it in color.
The riff tracks this in color too. The riff tracks,
they are very much.
But yeah, this is a fun movie. I like, obviously, if this was 40, 50 years ago, I think we'd be putting this movie in the A tier list. But yeah, B tier. I'd put it in low B tier just because it hasn't aged well, but it's still very. Even though it's an old timey horror movie, it still manages to hold your attention. And it definitely gets bonus points for some major babage in this movie. So yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's a fun one.
All right. So where's it going on the B tier?
I'd put it above The Mist. And yeah, I'd put it right about there. Right about there for me.
I don't think Dr. Sleep or Scream should be beating that movie, but
I actually don't think Tucker and Dale should be beating that movie. So
all right,
I'm kind of going back and forth in my head with those two. So
okay, all right, moving on. We got 3 left. Here we go. Demon Knight, released January 13, 1995. A drifter defends a key sealing demons from hell in a bloody siege. Siege. Thank you. Director Ernest Dickerson, Todd Masters as the special effects. It was the first Tales from the Crypt feature film. Billy Zane shaved his head for the role of the Collector.
Also because he was going bald.
Also, true. Yes.
I think this. I do not like Jaded Pinkensmith. But I actually tolerate her in this
She's
movie.
She's fucking hot as hell in this movie.
Yeah, I love I can't find a fault in this movie. I enjoy this movie every single time I watch it. Is it scary? Maybe if you're terrified of demons and the thought of stuff like this coming to on your door. But I think it's a fun movie. I think it's
an action horror comedy.
I love Billy Zane in it.
The Zane train has arrived, baby. This is his best role. Like, he's so good as the Collector. And, this is one of the best Tales from the Crypt episodes. And the fact that it plays out just like a long episode. It's got the intro song. And it doesn't spend too much time with the Crypt Keeper before the movie. It's like, hey, I'm the Crypt Keeper. I've been making a movie. Want to see what I've been up to? Chop, chop, chop. All right, here's the movie. And it just starts. And it's just like, hell yeah. We're like less than 2 minutes in and we get the story. And, it's just a fun little, like I said, a siege movie, survive in the house surrounded by demons and all this fun lore. And Ernest Dickerson, he's a great African-American filmmaker. And I don't know, it's just a fun ass movie. It's just it really does fire on all. I would put it below The Frighteners, but I still, I still would put it in A tier. I wouldn't mind if it was in B tier, but it is just a good schlocky drive-in style horror movie. Peak 90s too.
Now, I haven't heard what Vex or Gordon's going to say, but I will say anytime I have recommended this movie to someone, they have come back to me and said they have enjoyed it. So, that being said, Vex,
funny enough, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gordon. No, you go ahead.
Well, funny enough, actually, this movie in a way introduced me to Enzo because the first time I came across this movie, like for real, was they were talking about it on a live stream, kind of going over it. I think it was him, Toxic, Blue Collar, and I was just in the chat and just started joking around during the stream, and I guess kind of endeared myself to them. But and so then that's kind of how a lot of us met. And then I actually went ahead and watched the movie by itself, and yeah, I think this is a really enjoyable kind of horror action comedy. Billy Zane's a lot of fun. It's almost in a kind of a similar vein as something like The Mummy. It's just a little bit more adult. But I mean, I've only seen it once, so it's hard for me to like give it a legitimate grade. But I think it absolutely belongs in the B tier, and I would say that I'm kind of sad that this movie isn't talked about more these days, because I feel like this is one of those movies that's so fun that I feel like it's one of those movies from our generation that more people need to get around to finally watching. Because this is one I feel like people would be far more nostalgic about if they had seen it back then. Because it's really, really fun.
Yeah, especially like when we talk about budgets, this movie does do a lot with what it has. And, I love the idea that demons like lie to you and trick you and just get you to do what they want at any means necessary. And they get to Dick Miller with like the big breasted alcohol babes, and they get to the kid with the comic books, and they get to the prostitute lady by just like trying to just charm her, like, hey, I'm Billy Zane, I love you, baby. Like the fact that a demon would just lie to you and say that, no, I don't love you, I want the key, that's all I care about.
Thanks.
First off, Cowboy Billy Zane would
100%.
I
agree with you.
Me too.
Yes. Monster sister, I got you.
I'm not even gay.
The Zane train. There you go. I watched this movie when I was a kid because I liked the Tales from the Crypt Keeper show so much. I really shouldn't have. I didn't realize how much adult content was in this, and I guess my parents didn't either when they let me watch this. This is one of those movies that it's just like, it's fun to watch. It's definitely peak 90s, but it's this really good blend of like appealing to your inner child, but also embracing like a weird adult humor. Like it walks this very fine line that you can't say a lot of films do very well. I kind of wish like this is what The Electric State was trying to go for, but failed miserably at, right? So definitely knows its audience.
I'm intrigued now.
Yeah,
like honestly, it's like it's doing the same thing where it's like, oh, this is clearly a film that appeals to a more like younger audience because of just like what it's based on, just like how Crypt Keeper was for a younger audience. But there's a lot of adult stuff that it throws in there that just doesn't mesh well together. This film knows what it is, like unabashedly, which I really enjoyed on the rewatch. All of the characters were great. Even Jada Pinkett Smith, I didn't care for her, but I like even she was fine as well. I didn't like that the blood of Christ had Jew symbols all over it, but that's that's a creative choice. So yeah, I oh god, this was a really nice throwback. I really enjoyed this as an adult on rewatch. I would have to put this probably somewhere in the middle of the B tier. Like it's definitely not in what we have with the C tier. I want to put it on the actually good tier, but if you really picked apart this movie, you could, and it would probably fall apart in a lot of respects. So I would put it.
I think it should be ahead of Child's Play.
Yes. So like right here.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right. 2 movies to go, guys. We're almost there. Which one is that one? Oh. People Under the Stairs. The only reason I clicked that was that look that kid gave him.
Why did you clip a child predator like grin of all things?
No, I clipped it because the kid gave him a dirty look back. November 1st, 1991, a boy uncovers deranged couple's captive children in a nightmarish house, directed by Wes Craven, makeup artist again, Robert Kurtzman, K&B. The film was inspired by a real 1970s burglary case. Everett McGill and Wendy Robbie were cast to echo Twin Peaks. So there's a little bit of...
I didn't get a chance to watch this one, unfortunately, but I do want to watch it because I like the premise a lot.
I think I saw this like around the time it came out, but I don't remember it at all. Really, like I remember like thinking it was fine, but I never rewatched it. So yeah, I don't remember this movie well at all.
I love Goodwin. Goodwin explains it very well. I was the only white guy in the audience, and it was a glorious experience. Enzo, you've seen it.
I'm always A plus for racial superiority. A plus.
I actually rewatched this with mother and my brother when he was in town. We all watched this one, and we'd all seen it before. But it's definitely it's definitely C tier. But I still love the hell out of it. And especially nowadays, you realize like what with like a lot of the messaging about racism and evil landlords and all that stuff. This movie is actually very on the nose today. Almost 30 years after it was made. And yeah, it is a little convoluted. It's like an hour and 40 minutes, and it feels like it's 2.5 hours long. It's very all over the place, and like there's a lot of like I guess I would compare it to Jigsaw, the Saw movies. There's like this house just has like all these contraptions and a lot of plot holes and leaps of logic, but overall it's just a fun movie about two very wicked landlords that get their comeuppance by any means necessary from some streetwise little black kid named Fool. And yeah, I mean, Wes Craven, I think Scream's better than this one, but this is probably one of the better Wes Craven projects. It's a good type of schlock, I would say. I liked it, but
I think
still C tier.
I have a lot of nostalgia for it, I think, because I saw it very young and it creeped me out because I saw it as a kid. And when you're watching this kid experience through this, I think it's a little bit more terrifying. Rewatching it, even though it is on my top list because I do adore it because of nostalgia, I would agree it probably goes into this year. But I would put it probably not the end, but maybe here. Yeah, right
Sure.
there. You think
It's your show?
All right. Yeah, why not? Why not? All right, last movie. Here we go. Maximum Overdrive, released July 25th, 1986. A machines turned deadly due to atomic radiation, trapping the survivors at a truck stop. Director Stephen King, special effects Dean Gates. King admitted he was coked up during directing and later disowned the film. A lawnmower accident injured the cinematographer, leading to a lawsuit.
Wow.
This is objectively a very bad movie, but to me, it's so bad it's so good kind of deal. I just have fun with it.
I mean, this movie rocks. It's like got a rocks heavy soundtrack. It's got like just a lot of ridiculous death scenes, but it is objectively the dumbest movie on the whole list. It is.
Yes, it is.
I would not be upset if it was at the very bottom of the C tier.
I'm actually going to be talking about this movie in 2 weeks over on mine. Oh my God. Why can't I say it? By a Pop Culture Minefield. We're actually going to be doing a deep dive into it. So, Gord, I hear you sighing.
Okay, I'll start with what I liked. I will start with what I liked. The soda machine scene is really
that was
funny.
The other clip I almost had. Yeah,
it is really funny, and I appreciate the practical effects. The end. Everything else about this movie, I think, is utterly atrocious. I don't freaking care that it's a bunch of AC/DC songs. A lot of them are just it's kind of like a soundtrack like Suicide Squad, where it's like, yeah, they're good songs, but what did they actually add to the movie? I mean, I would say maybe a little bit more in this case than that movie, but not much else. I don't find this movie remotely funny. I don't find any of the performances memorable. I think the dialogue absolutely sucks, and even though the movie is going for a schlocky feel, it betrays its own internal logic at every freaking turn when it actually could have been, like it could have kept that same tone, but still been much more interesting. I mean, for crying out loud, it's like all these machines are turning on them, and this couple is still able to drive around in their own car for about half the movie. And it's like, why is this? We're not going to explore the possibility of that car turning on them or anything like that. Where there's a car that rolls up that has a machine gun that shoots at them independently, but we're not going to explore the possibility of the bazooka turning on them. It's like it's wildly inconsistent with its own rules. It's just
King was coked up.
The only thing, what's sad is I know Emilio Estevez is in it, and I generally speaking think he's pretty decent as a performer. I like some of the movies he's in, but what they're going for, he just doesn't fit, and there's nothing particularly interesting about him. I think the little romance between him and whoever the girl is
sister of Gilbert Grape.
She's just it's just kind of shoehorned in there. It's like, oh, he's the attractive guy, she's the good-looking girl. We got to have them hook up. It's like, okay, but why?
If you were an attractive man, you would understand that sentiment.
It's like just in story. It's like okay, it happens because we have to put the attractive people together. It's like nothing feels meaningful at all. Even the ending is really, really stupid. They sail away on a boat, but it's like, why do you need to? Yeah. The aliens who were causing this were defeated, so who freaking cares? This movie's absolutely atrocious. It's slightly above a 1 out of 10, but it's not quite a 2. I really did not like this movie at all.
Dang.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't get around to watching this one at all, but I'm glad I didn't because Stephen King is the director. So.
Yeah. He's very coked out. And what's also funny about this movie is like it takes place in the 80s. So there was this idea, like, if you had a problem with technology in the 80s, the idea of like, going to war against the technology and resign, like the idea that we were like living in 1986 and we're gonna just get rid of all technology, quote unquote, that would be easier than it is now, like with how dependent we are on technology. And I think like a modern day remake of Maximum Overdrive might be necessary to try.
Yeah, there is some. You can do something with this idea. You definitely can do something with this idea and have a lot of fun with it. But this really seemed like Stephen King. Yeah, he had the idea, but this is kind of why I thought it was interesting that he has so many books that were adapted into significantly better movies. He has ideas that sometimes work, but if you put it in a more capable person's hands, they can turn it into something a lot better. I think this is the kind of thing I want remade. Stop remaking good movies. Remake the bad ones or the ones that are just mediocre. Remake the ones that have potential that didn't quite reach it. This would be something that, someone like Sam Raimi could turn Maximum Overdrive into something really fun.
Nice.
All right, where is it going?
The bottom of the bottom
of the WTF. It's the worst movie on here by far.
Yeah, it is.
All right, we did it.
Yay!
We did it.
Woo!
Nadia's top 26 in 3 hours and 30 minutes. Holy shit. Not bad.
I have to be up in 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
I'm surprised there was no foreign horror on this list.
I had to slim it down. I had to slim things down.
But even the slim down one has like nothing with subtitles.
Nothing slims down a list like Asians. So Asian.
Well, technically Suspiria is Italian, but it is dubbed.
I thought that we would do foreign horror as a tier.
That'd be
also
cool.
Going too. So
that'd be cool.
Like,
Dude, put Hagazusa on that list.
Yeah. So like after we're doing Vincent Price next, and then we'll figure out the next one. But I figured that could be one of them that we could do.
Oh, you could just do it by country. You could do a Japanese tier list, a Korean tier list, like
French,
the possibilities are endless with a foreign one. Okay, all right.
All right.
You can do an African one. And we can all talk about Get Out.
I don't think that's African.
Africa claims it though. It's fine.
Blackula again. We'll do Blackula.
Okay. All right. You guys. Well, thank you everybody who tuned in. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Everybody who super chat. You guys didn't have to. You guys are awesome. Guys made me feel so loved on my pre-birthday celebration. You guys are phenomenal. My panel, you guys, fantastic show as always. Enzo, what do you got going on next?
I guess I'm gonna have Tales from the Dork Side Sunday night, Monday morning after Gooch's show, St. Patrick's Day special. We'll be watching some weird crap. I will probably do a Stupenzo cast Monday or Tuesday night, we'll watch episode 3 of Playing It Straight, as well as some other weird shit. And then Wednesday, I got a full-length commentary for a movie called Prehysteria with the kid from Last Action Hero and a bunch of little toy dinosaurs. I'll probably have Sammy 3-Pete on that, maybe Dudicus, maybe even Cinevere if she's available Monday. So I don't know. That it was just bunch of weird shit coming up, bunch of weird crap to watch and laugh at on my channel. That's basically it.
Vex, what do you got going on next?
I was sick last week. I'm much better this week, so I'll be streaming tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be reviewing The Last Showgirl, which was very pleasantly surprising.
I liked it.
I liked it too. Yeah, a lot more than
I haven't
it was
seen it
better
yet.
than it had any right to be, in all honesty.
It's on my list to check out.
You know what? It's in an era where America is just putting out female-oriented films that push women as they can do no wrong and heavily masculine. I don't know.
Emasculate?
No. Like they push women as being very masculine, right? That's the era of filmmaking we're in, and this manages to be a film that actually embraces how stupid women are, and actually makes the film like kind of like relatable because like, oh, these are all female tropes that you can find in the modern woman, and it doesn't try and sell you that it's that they're good or anything. It's just like, here's how they are and here's what they do, and I really enjoyed that it did that. So yeah, looking forward to reviewing that tomorrow.
Nice.
Very cool. All right. Gord, what do you got going on now?
We got MMM coming up Monday. We're gonna be talking about the Boondock Saints, and I have currently 2 scripts that I'm working on, and I'm going to be watching that the Electric State movie tomorrow. So if I think there's something there to write about, I might have a 3rd script I start working on. But the other 2 I'm working on, it's like I'm going to do a video for the Daisy Ridley film Cleaner, because it's arguably the worst structured action movie I've ever seen.
Nice.
And I have another script in the works where I kind of go over it's an Amadeus video where I break down the importance of Salieri's prayer that he tells the priest at the beginning of the movie, and how that tells you kind of everything you need to know about his character.
Very cool. Very cool. As for myself, my guest actually had to cancel Tuesday. He got pulled to set. So I'm actually going to be talking about Hellboy, the Crooked Man, both the comic and the movie, and then some news. And then Thursday, I will be discussing Ash, because I'm going to go see it on Wednesday. And then I'll be doing that's my actual birthday, so I'll be doing a gaming stream. I'm going to have the channel decide between Until Dawn or Mortuary Assistant. So we will see.
I'm a big Flying Lotus fan.
Flying. Yeah. And then there's no shows until the following week. I have 2 director spotlight streams. I'll have the director of Stream. He's also the producer of Terrifier. He'll be joining me on Tuesday, the 25th. And then on the 27th, I have the director of the new movie, The Fetus, who has Laura Levera. That's how you say her last name, I think, from Terrifier. She's the lead in Terrifier. It also has Bill Moseley.
Lauren Levera, yes.
Thank you. So I'll have him. So both of those will be live streamed, so you'll be able to ask the directors questions as I do so awkwardly. So tune into that. And until next time, again, thank you guys. Made me feel so loved. I'm a little tipsy. I'm gonna go eat some food. It's been 3.5 hours. I will see you all in the next stream. Stay spooky.